Turn around, don't turn around. We'll sing it loud, singing everything we want to.
He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kisse's not here, but it's a pentakill.
Second, they'll find a second. Chippies is on an absolute tear right now.
Welcome back. There's going to be some more league action happening on our screens very soon because we have another best of two. Direwolves up against Chiefs. We just saw Chiefs play yesterday, and finally we realized that they are defeatable. We can take them down. They are human. I say we like as if I'm on any other team that isn't Chiefs.
Yeah, we beat them.
We beat them. We collectively, as talent, beat them.
They are human. They have not been genetically enhanced by Elon Musk anytime soon. AI hasn't taken over the world just yet. That's it. I tell you what, I'm excited for that fight. But a different fight will be taking place today, maybe just as exciting, Max, and that's what I'm looking forward to because, you know, these are two of the most successful organizations in Oceanic history that have remained for all the change that have ever happened in the Oceanic landscape. So I'm excited to see, now that we know that Chiefs can be beaten, can Direwolves up the ante and take a game as well?
Yeah, well, let's actually have a look at what Chiefs roster is playing today because when we interviewed Bio yesterday, he was outright. He's like, there's no need for rumors, then there's no need for, you know, this hiding around. But they played Kevy twice yesterday after 2 weeks of subbing both Kevy and Babip in and out. And today the goal is to be playing Babip for both games.
And to me, this raises a lot of questions regarding the draft. In their previous best of two, they were on blue side both games, and they banned Ivern first three both games as well.
True.
Part of me wonders whether that's a jungle-specific thing, whether Babip's the Ivern player and Kevy's a more carry player. But there's a lot of situations, a lot of variables that we're yet to see with Babip.
Yeah, the funny thing for me as well about this team is, like, originally Babip was the carry player when he played in Legacy, and Carbon was the Ivern player, right, as the main jungler on the team. So maybe the shoe's on the other foot now with him playing utility, but if you throw back, or throw it back to yesterday, whichever you'd prefer, you did see the Chiefs lose, and then you saw them bounce back with, let's say, more signature picks, right? And I think this was a case of Chiefs, you know, they were trying something a little bit different. They realized where they went wrong. They corrected their mistakes. And once again, yes, they are human. Yes, they can lose. And best of twos is one of the best times to take the Chiefs out. But don't expect to be able to beat them twice and for that to be easy, because they are a force to be reckoned with.
Beat me once, shame on me. Beat me twice. No, wait. Beat me once, shame on you. Beat me twice, shame on me.
Yeah,
That's the way it's supposed to be. Direwolves will obviously be looking for that 2-0, though. They want to get themselves those bonus points because they are sitting in that weird sort of zone of not quite the top of the ladder, but definitely nowhere near the bottom yet. And with their lineup, Shaka being that unknown entity, someone that's come in week 2 for this lineup, and for better or worse, has changed up what they've been banning and how they've been playing.
Yeah, it changed up a little bit how they've been playing for sure. I mean, there's definitely some question marks around the Shaka introduction to this roster and what difference it really makes. So I'm very excited to ask them about questions like that, you know. But for the Direwolves, it felt like they picked for more team fighting in their recent series. They definitely executed that team fighting incredibly well. And they're also one of our only teams that actively finds good flanks in those fights. A lot of the other teams in OS can't find those flanks. Zoranus, very successful with it.
How do you see this matchup playing out when Direwolves themselves have even admitted that their early game can be really rough, and Chiefs are a team that when they're ahead, they stay ahead. They might have iffy moments when they're playing from behind, but we've only seen that happen twice. So now you've got a team that most likely will be giving over that lead and a team that loves playing with a lead.
That to me is the biggest issue in this series, and what I think the Direwolves are going to have to be most cognizant of heading into this game. I think that if they get to the late game stages and they're able to team fight, like Rusty said, they're one of the best teams at finding flanks, and they've had the experience in those 40-45 minute games to prove that, right? But to me, it really is about stability, particularly around the mid lane. Kisei and Babip, we know that when Babip's playing, Kisei is the one who's getting empowered. So making sure he's stable, making sure they're not giving up early kills like Chaz has in previous games is going to be key.
Yeah, I do believe we are going to do a little bit of a comparison between those two mid laners, between Chaz and Kisei. So here we go, a lot of stats on the board as well as their 3 most picked champs.
You know, we were looking at these stats, and originally my first thought is it's almost the exact same, right? Like, the crazy thing is they are almost the exact same, but there is a clear difference. While their most picked are very similar in the style that these players are definitely having this split, right? Kisei has the extra Akali up his sleeve, has the extra hard carry 1v9 game up his sleeve. Chaz seems to have resigned himself to, and you heard this from his interview the other day, just being an Annie one trick, right? Like, has just resigned himself to being utility. So to me, that's the biggest difference that separates them, besides the obvious KDA of a team that's hard winning. Having a better KDA.
Which is bizarre to me because we know that Chaz can be the Akali player. We know that he can be the Victor, the Azir, the hyper-scaling mid lane mage player. So I'm curious if it is a case of, you know, we are very rigid in our formation as to how we want to approach it. We've been sort of seeing strategies from a lot of these teams now and saying, you know, can a certain player look to try and go to a place that they've done in the past, and then it happens, right? So a lot of these teams are showing that there are multiple variants of what they can do going into playoffs. I'm just really curious to see if Chaz gets to unleash and go, you know, back to his full carry potential rather than being told, you know, clear Annie, clear Annie.
Well, someone that we saw yesterday, someone that we did get to interview was Bio, so we thought we'd bring him back on. Rusty has some questions for him. So
yeah, Bio.
Oh, yeah, we just wanted to see you back to back, man. You give great interviews. It's not a great broadcast unless we have you on it, you know?
No, it's nice to see you guys, honestly. And Rusty, interview.
G'day, big
Let's
dog.
go, baby.
It's the first
Finally.
time, isn't it?
Hit me
Never
up.
got this
Hit me
luxury.
up.
You want some questions from me first? Let's do it.
Yes.
You're an ARAM main Bio. What's we play ARAMs in Bio all
Not
the
for a
time.
while.
Not
but
for a
yeah.
while. It's been a little while. I want to know if there's any champions that can get in the top lane, right? Because with ARAMs, you play a bunch of stuff you're not prepared for normally. You've played 160 champions. I know that for a fact. Any static shiv abusers for top lane, mate? Anything that you could bring out that perhaps no one else has even got that they can cook?
I think the only good viable ones are like Kennen and LeBlanc. I'm trying to think of like any other good ones. I think those are the only ones that are actually like viable. But I also think Kennen's one is really niche, so I think it's only like good into tanks and very slow games. So I don't prefer it, but that's as much as static shiv will be in top lane. Not gonna lie.
Tragedy. Do you want a question before I have a big one to ask?
No, you go with your big one, just in case you run out of time.
Sure.
It's more
So
important.
I know that you guys are no longer undefeated now, right? Your KDA is not going to be infinite anymore. I don't think that's the
Yeah, that's
the big deal here, right?
Okay.
But my question is, because you guys have always more focused on like international performance, right? Like you're kind of you're just good enough domestically that you're sure you'll make the finals. How do we beat the PCS? Like, what is the difference here, right? Because last time we went over, it didn't feel like we had many chances to actually beat those teams.
I've played for so long and I've been to a lot of international events, and I think it's just team synergy. I think OS really lacks a lot of team cohesion and teamwork, and I think that like if 5 brains are put together and like actually like wanting to have the same goal, you'll just win. I just think that a lot of times people care about like the individual matchups or like, oh, I can do better micro here, but at the end of the day, like if we have the same goal or we do the same objective, like we'll just have better results. So I just want to make sure that like when we go to PCS, like the team as a whole is just on the same page about how we want to play the game, what champs are good, and like how we want to like play the game in general. So yeah, I think that's the biggest difference.
How heavily would you weight that of everyone being in the same mindset compared to potentially the fact that we do have our own niche in the meta when it comes to champs picked, that we're not always hitting what other regions are hitting, and that sometimes comfort just trumps whatever could be classed as broken?
Yeah, I think comfort means a lot, because I just don't think that... I feel like meta is really like the strongest picks, but it's also just like if you have niche picks, you should play it. But I also think that like it should synergize as a team. That's when like the champs work together well. Like the team knows how to play around it, and like it's not just like just a random pick like a Pantheon or like something like you just don't know what to pick. It's just something that like the whole team knows how to play around, and like that's just how it is. It's like if you want to introduce a champ into your like repertoire, like you want to make sure that everyone understands what's the strengths, what do you want to do with the champ, and like how to like give it like the biggest power in the game. So.
Yeah, look, beautiful answer, Bio. I'm glad that we got that question out there. We are running short on time, though, so we'll bid you adieu and good luck. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See ya. It's nice. The Bio's are always such a like pleasant smile to have, but I loved what he gave information-wise. That's what I think we also hinted at when we saw that Shaco come out in Game 1 for Ground Zero. It's like, great. This champ, yeah, could be meta for you. Yeah, this champ could be one that you're really well versed in. But if your team isn't on the same page, if you guys don't have that cohesion, so it's a great answer that he said that applies not only for what we want to achieve internationally, but even what you could do for within LCO if you're at a different rung on the ladder right now.
He even said the Pantheon, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and, which is interesting, right, because he was the first one to play in recent memory before. We did see it elsewhere, but it sort of... It makes it an interesting conversation even further when you say, okay, well, you're clearly strong enough then to win in that current state domestically. So is it really that much of a void when we go overseas where, you know, teams may have infinite extra resources, be it coaches, money, whatever it may be, to you know, align them in that certain direction. So you're always going to get a fully fleshed out answer from BioPem. It's always a treat to hear
it.
from him, right? But yeah, it does make you think, okay, what would it take for us to, got that extra echelon?
Sometimes he says things and it leaves me with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that
good,
sort of stuff. So, Bio, great interview. We're going to have another great interview right now. Chaz is going to be joining us. Chaz, how are you feeling? You're going to be coming up, obviously, against old teammate like Bio, but just the Chiefs roster right now in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's hopefully going to be a spicy matchup. This is definitely one we want to win, so I'm hoping it's going to go well.
Yeah.
I want to ask you as well about the mid lane matchup specifically for this one, right? Kisei's obviously a very good player, but yesterday he also brought out the Assassins and started to mix it up with some of those extra carry champions. I know for you, Chaz, you said this the other day, just playing Annie, right? Just grinding Annie, no one's banning it. Is there a world where you also consider playing those hard carries for your team?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends how the draft goes. I think, like, a lot of the time, what happens is if one person picks, like, Annie, for example, like Annie, Ari, something like this in the top 3, and then you go down for a greedy pick in the bottom half, and you're trying to play a carry, like, the enemy mid's just going to have so much more impact than you in the first, like, 15 minutes of the game, maybe even longer, especially if they snowball. So it's like, these carry picks really don't come into... I guess, well, they just don't really do too much until you start team fighting, unless you can just absolutely crush the lane matchup. So I know, like, Syndra is a champion like that can actually just beat Annie really, really hard. But it just kind of changes the way how you want to play. I think for the most part, like, bot lane's probably the most important role. So, like, playing a greedy style mid just isn't the best thing to do every single game. So if they're just giving, like, S plus Annie every game, then it's like, well, I'm taking that shit. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
They're valid, makes a lot of sense. My next question for you is a very simple one, Chaz. I don't know if the answer's simple, but the question is, Direwolves have always kind of been at the cusp of being a top 2 team, and Bliss kind of weaseled their way in split 1 right towards the end. What is it that you think is missing from Direwolves or is not developed fully yet that just makes you guys like above and beyond a top 2 team? Because your players have been there before.
In my opinion, which I think most teams would share, like if we started the game at 20 minutes against any team and we're even, like we're gonna be winning like at least 50% against every team, right? Like in my opinion, like we're the best or like close to the best mid to late game team as long as we're in a stable position. But we just really fumble in early games, especially like in split 1. So like we're just trying to work on consistency. I think that like if the game goes well and we've got like a draft that we're comfortable on, like we should win every game as long as it goes to mid late. But like in scrims and stage, like we'll just do something a bit silly at the start and it just gets a little bit out of control. So that's why I think Shark has been a really good improvement for us, because he is an aggressive early game like player that likes to do things which kind of slows us or slows the game down, well, it slows the bleeding down rather, I should say. So we don't fall too far behind because we're doing things more proactively, and even like we'll win early games now. So yeah, that's like the big thing we've been working on is just the early games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully you guys have a more stable early game, especially coming up against Chiefs. But Chaz, thank you so much for joining us and good luck today.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. It was nice. Great questions, Rusty.
Always has a lot to say, Chaz, which is why it's so easy to ask him anything and just let him go.
Yeah, I mean, well, you had a 6-8 worded question.
Yep.
That man gave such a good answer. That was phenomenal.
He knows what he wants to say. Also, the funny thing I realized as well with this team is how similar it was to, remember the original LCO, like Pensinet Peace rivalry, where it's literally Chiefs Direwolves, if you think about it now. One team was fast early, one team was a scaling team, Direwolves were the scaling team. So history kind of repeats itself with the players being back together.
Full circle.
That was a good era. Good time.
Let's see for side selection though, because this is what I was wondering about. Pentanet, for a lot of the other patches that we played on, were really red side. Everyone was blue side, but now Chiefs coming out showing that they might start favoring red side a little bit more on this new patch, or maybe just the undeveloped meta that has occurred in LCO. And so they'll be picking that up for both game 1 and game 2. No sides, what will occur in this best of 2. If that influences what you guys might think for game 1, where it might go, or maybe it's just the players in itself, then you can use these channel points. You can put channel points where your mouth is up there. Nara's doing
the thing where the camera's on the wrong side. I was like, yeah, that works.
Yeah, no. Nara's doing us the pleasure of showing you guys where you can put those channel points and put in your vote for the teams. And we're going to see, it's going to come up on the screen where we've all put it. So Yeah, I'm going to say everyone's gone 2-0 Chiefs there. I thought if there was going to be any discrepancy, it'd be on the first page. And that wasn't it.
I deliberated on
Second page
this
is
for
just me.
such a long time. Rusty asked me, what do you reckon your prediction is? And I had to sit there and think for a good minute.
You paused. There was no
pause.
words out of you, no
I
facial
was just
expression.
like, what's the way that Direwolves get this one? And but do Chiefs still beat this? And yeah, it took me a long time. But I feel like there's enough of a bounce back where we saw the quote-unquote angry gaming in Game 2 against PGG, where they bounced back and said, look, you caught us off guard in Game 1. We're not going to allow that to happen again.
Well, it was very quick to run into this one, but Game 1 is already started. So let's get on into it. Champ Select.
Let's do just that then, Nat. Let's figure out what's going to happen between the Direwolves and the Chiefs. 2 drafts for the Chiefs to play from the red side, and with the reintroduction of Babbitt playing the entire series, let's see how much that actually changes their playstyle going into this.
You do wonder that the Maokai ban going to come out straight away saying Babbitt, one of these champions you are most proficient on, and the Rakan ban almost feels like a tax against the Chiefs. Like, you know that has to come out first 3. You're too scared of Eldoric playing it.
And, which is true, and we definitely asked for the Rakan yesterday, but it was almost like Eldoric welcoming them to play it and said, I know it so well that I want you to play it so I can slam the Leona to counteract it. So I'm excited to see really what happens as a result of this one, because the Syndra's been banned, the Annie's being denied, so Chaz might have to use something a little bit different this time.
And it's going to be the Ahri coming through. A lot of different Ahri builds potentially available. The one we saw yesterday was the Fleet Footwork plus the Static Shiv combo, going more towards that wave clear, that auto attack style play style. Skimmy, I wanted to go on a bit of a tangent here, on a bit of a theory craft here as to this red side selection here.
Sure.
We talked about Chiefs. I can't remember who said it, but one of them said it. Red side, blue side, jungle picks, right? Kevy played 2 games of blue side. Now it's Babbitt playing 2 games on red side. And when you see red side, you immediately think of solo lane counter picks, right? So this is really playing into, okay, we're going to secure a strong either mid lane or bot lane with mid or sub counter pick, and then we're going to have this ability for our jungle to really facilitate around that. And picking Sion first says to me, hey, we're completely deferring from playing towards top lane. Mid bot, go for it.
100%, and it would feel very much to that idea, right? You've got your
Wait, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Who was that?
That was Nat.
That was Nat. Oh, Nat's on the board. Of all people, Babbitt said, you know what, I'll play a carry today. I'll play that one. You got too excited for 2 reasons.
Oh, I really thought that was me. That hurts. But I think that Viego being picked up early, Kevy had his fantastic performance on it yesterday, right? So definitely speaking to a bit of overlap between these 2 junglers. It's not like saying they have a completely distinct champion pool. They are able to overlap, which makes them so much more deadly in the versatility that they offer.
Yeah, it's not as if Babbitt cannot play carries. He certainly has in the past, right? So it makes it that much more exciting as a result. If the Akali's going to be locked on in right here and right now, then I'm certainly gearing myself towards that support counter pick, but they're going to deliberate a little bit longer and decide where else it could go. Gwen would be a very confusing pick, but one that we'd much more prefer to go back to that Akali and make it 2 from 2 and show Kisei, okay, Chaz, you know you love to play the assassins, but right now that's not your wheelhouse.
Absolutely, and it was funny to hear Chaz sort of condemn the assassin pick, saying it's a very selfish one. You know, your team's just going to lose before 15 minutes. We'll see if that can actually happen here for the Direwolves, right? There is that onus on Chaz, because we've seen once Kisei rocks up to those Herald fights, to those Dragon fights, he will pop off.
And it begs a massive question now as we wait for these next set of bans to come on through. What builds will both of these mid laners go for? We've seen from the Ahri, it can be the Static Shift, it could be the Everfrost, it could be the Ludens, right? So you've got all these different variations based on what you need to facilitate the comp. Likewise, we've had Static Shift from the Akali with Riftmaker, we've had Protobelt as well, right? So what is going to be their angle to try and get the victory in this game?
And Static Shiv, Akali, one of the champions that it's so broken on for multiple reasons, right? Firstly, you're an assassin who struggles with wave clear pre-level 9. So if you're able to get that Static Shiv on, you know, have a single auto attack, then a Q, you one-shot the wave, and that's all you really need to do, then you can start roaming. But realistically, I'm liking these 80 carries being taken off the board, Skimmy. We're getting ever closer to either a Felios for yourself or a Lucian.
Oh, and that's all we care about. It's not about the win anymore, it's all about bingo. Well, yes, 3 have been banned so far, and you'd imagine a 4th would be taken off the board. Perhaps an Aphelios ban here would make sense. Then we start to get into dangerous territory where we look at likes of Ezreal's and Dravens and the likes of it as well. Actually, Milio going to be banned instead, so maybe a little bit concerned about some of the engage potential that Direwolves have.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you are Direwolves here, you know the Chiefs have first pick coming out of the bans. You don't want to necessarily take all the good 80 carries off bar 1. That creates a really awkward situation for yourself where you sort of draft yourself into a hole, but immediately it's going to be the Cogmore and the Braum coming out. This is something Direwolves have planned with how quick they lock that in.
Very exciting to see the Cogmore come out to play. It's been such a long time, and obviously the builds have changed so much since. I think the last time we saw Cogmore, I want to say it was like the Iceborne Gauntlet full tank Cogmore. You just couldn't be killed. You had a bunch of bruisers around you to protect, and you just stood and went full turret mode.
And this is exactly kind of similar to what you're wanting to do here, is the Aphelios potentially Thresh, but it's going to be Aladoric locking in the Rel here. So, when you're looking at the side of the Chiefs, you have a very explosive comp that once again on top of this Cogmore. Meanwhile, Direwolves, it's really all about buying space for Praetive. Sure, you have summon damage in the Wukong, in the Ari, potentially the Cassante as well, but it's really this Cogmore who, once he gets those 2 to 3 items, is going to be ripping shreds through the tanks on Chiefs.
It's just going to completely punish any kind of botched engage that Chiefs will have, right? And I mean, this almost screams to the identity that Direwolves have built themselves around coming into Split 2. Praetiv's in form, Praetiv's playing well, the meta suits us, the meta works, that our AD carry can be empowered, so we're going to allow him to play his best brand of League of Legends, and a Cogmore is just that. I mean, we're getting to territory of like the likes of Vayne and so on now, where it's like the flashy 1v9 kind of play.
Well, Cogmore is one of those champions who can stand against Aphelios in the late game, right? One of those very few characters who's able to do that in terms of range as well. Once you have that W active, you are just spitting all over people as you get into the late game. And sure, Sion's tanky, but the percent damage, the magic, all of this attack speed coming through from the Cogmore really means that he's not much of a tank at all if Cogmore's able to free hit.
And clearly the concern then becomes about, okay, how are you going to address, handle, control the Viego and the Akali? Because if they get wind or even sight of this Cogmore, he's gone in a heartbeat. So how's that going to be looked at?
Absolutely, and Aladoric as well on this Rel, certainly very threatening, right? If he is able to find an engage like he has in so many games before, there is that risk of getting dogpiled on. That's one of the things Cogmore hates, is all these different flanks coming through. Something like an Akali and a Shroud of Viego with the Heartbreaker really makes his life a living hell. So definitely going to be very heavily execution-based. That being said, the side of Direwolves, you've got Cassante, you've got a Braum. There's a lot of tools to actually protect this Cogmore.
There certainly are. There's great engage, great pick, great control, and great ability to try and dictate the outcome of this game. Well, I mentioned already, this is the oldest remaining rivalry in Oceanic history. These two teams have met, well, 48 times since 2015. And they have combined won 10 domestic titles between them. Absolute juggernauts in the region. And let's see if this new roster, if this new series will be any different as we jump into a quick pause here. And I suppose get to talk a little bit more about the theory as to what could be expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of what is expected, Ari opting here for the Electrocute and Doran's Ring start, so potentially not going to be heading towards that Static Shiv route, instead opting for something a bit more traditional, such as the Everfrost, such as that Luden's Echo, to be providing a bit more of AP damage. But as we look at these comps early on, really to me, the bot lane is the biggest focus here. You do have a Rel. You do have an Aphelios who, once it gets that Gravitum online, there's a lot of gank setup coming through there.
I'm really hoping, given it is going to be the single AP, that you would get the more aggressive variation of the Ari as opposed to the default, you know, I'm going to play Protect and Peel Ari, right? You've already got enough of those bruises in the front line to do just that, and if they just itemize straight armor, then you're kind of like, okay, sure, true damage from the Cogmore, but like this Ari is just a charm bot. So I'm curious to see exactly where Chaz goes with it. You'd imagine it would be all-out mode, like the Cassante in terms of DPS output, but I mean, okay, so when we look at this mid lane, you mentioned obviously yesterday the comparison in stats as to how, you know, Kisei can excel when a different junglers are available. Yes, the sample size is very small. What do we make of a jungle duo that is this in an Akali and Viego?
Akali Viego, very explosive, I guess, but more so around the dragon fights. The fact that Akali herself doesn't have any CC makes it quite hard to gank towards that mid lane, especially Ari, a very mobile target, even just with the W movement speed early on into the game, right? So realistically, I'm not expecting too much attention for the Viego towards this mid lane early on, but once we get to those Rift Herald skirmishes, and the Chiefs' quintessential play is that 3v3 topside Herald, Biopanther, Kisei coming through. You've got something like a Cyanide threatening. It becomes very dangerous and really easy to get a reset. And once you've got a Viego, that's all you need.
And that's what we saw yesterday, right? It was just back-to-back team fights. Everybody grouped up together, and the Viego just flourished, right? Just had an absolute field day with it. So whether or not Direwolves will grant an opportunity, it becomes the interesting question, though, because for all the merit that we gave Chiefs about having the most dominant early game, they did get undone by Pentanet last night. Not to take away from the fact that Chiefs still have a really strong early game, but that has been a sore point for Direwolves. They've loved to try and play towards the late game. So I'm wondering how they approach it, if they switch things up at all.
This game, you absolutely have to get towards this late game with this Kog'Maw, right? That is your one goal, is to get to that situation where he's got those 2-3 items, he's able to come online. And a lot of that is going to come down to jungle tracking. We saw it before in the previous series, actually, where Vertex did a fantastic job of tracking Gooby in the jungle. And if you're able to negate where this Viego is playing to, particularly around the bot lane, we're expecting a lot of this action to come from, you're able to buy yourself a lot of that time.
Let's see if any time...
That's
like
a good
the
emote as
here
well.
in the bot lane. Oh, I missed it. I have to see it again.
It's the sunglasses one, the little astronaut bard pushing the sunglasses up his face.
Yes.
That was around when I was playing, which is a while ago.
I'm trying to show your age now.
Yeah, I know. Really am.
Steal the limelight away from Rusty.
But as we see here, leashless start for Shaka on the bot lane. Not really going to know where he is pathing if you are the Chiefs. Meanwhile, top lane Viapenta. He is such a selfless man, such a kind, charitable soul. He'll always give his jungler a leash.
But I think it makes us a lot more happy now, the fact that we're going to see a Sign as the first pick rather than the 5th pick.
Yeah.
A champion that sort of fits the bill in this position to certainly do just that. And yeah, of course, you've given Zoranis to K'Sante, and I think he was one of the first players actually to play K'Sante and made it absurdly broken in terms of its debut performance.
Big.
But good ward from Chaz to make sure he has that tracking, as you say. Make sure this Viego can't get too carried away.
And this is exactly what you have to do in this matchup, right? Chaz spoke to it in his interview, but when you play an assassin, you're essentially surrendering the lane phase for the most part, right? And Kisei, historically, he's been a very lane-dominant player. This split, he's averaging a plus 18.6 CS of 15 minutes, is up almost 1,000 gold on average in his laning phases. So being able to be put behind certainly throws the Chiefs a little off balance to what they'd normally be expecting.
I want to say from memory, he almost has like 20 kills extra over Chaz as well. I think, yeah, you know, Kisei is certainly in a league of his own, only really contested by the likes of Daystar in that. Check it in here with Decoy as well. This will be another game of the Brom. He's been playing it a few times now. He's looked pretty strong at it, quite frankly. KD is looking pretty handsome at the same time as well. So average, what, 0.5 of a def in those 2 games? I mean, that Brom is doing work.
That's nice, and I think Brom fits Direwolf's playstyle to a T, right? If we're talking about something that wants to provide early game stability whilst being able to ensure that effectiveness come those mid-game team fights, it's exactly what you want, right? And when you go back to the PGG of old, when you look at Decoy and Praetor, this team fighting duo was so potent for a reason, right? You weren't able to make any plays against them because they were able to respond so effectively, and that's what Decoy is bringing here on this brawl.
Big strength of his in the past also has always been his ability to reset the base and deploy elsewhere to try and get that KP up as well. The chance to influence the rest of the map, the matchups like we're seeing right now as Shaka and Aladoric are going to poke their heads into mid lane. Getting a rare moment given the fact that the Chiefs were able to crash that wave in the bot lane. See if anything were to occur here. Kisei obviously very low and is playing with fire. As we know, Shaka is there.
He's got no shroud, so there is a potential world where a charm lands, he will be able to go down, but not going to be the case. Instead, Shaka going to opt for the recall. We can already see Chaz, you know, not reflected in the CS, but definitely taking the better of Kisei in the HP realm. As Aladoric, once again, one of the most roam-heavy supports, wanting to make plays wherever he can, particularly on a pick like Rel.
It's a fair indication that Kisei will be going towards that selection with the fleet footwork and the longsword start to try and match up and basically negate the power that you said already of, you know, it's a greedy pick. Given the ability to try and rotate in this lane before Chaz can look to clear that out. He's also copping a massive beating right now and having to use those skill shots at such a safe distance before he greets that first reset back to base. But he's going to need Babip to maybe help him in a second. He's in the area right now, currently doing the chickens. And really just playing skill shot simulators. The charm at the very last second connects! And Chaz, I mean, honestly, last stretch of mana, nearly went for it.
If he flashes an auto attacks there, he kills him because Electrocute procs there. So just a bit of a miscalculation there from Chaz, you have to imagine. But Kisei, like you said, we talk about confident players, and he's staying under his turret at about 100 HP, just saying, no, Chaz, you're not going to hit me with anything. Opt for the longsword start as well, not to mention Skimmy. Longsword refillable even, the greediest start you can go for here on this Akali.
Yeah, he wants that tempo, so he just needs to get through this awkward start before that item comes online. Then you really get to run right on this map. High five Babip and run around the map and just find kills like you would not believe and really try and get the game in such a great state that this Coldmore doesn't get to come online, that we are starting to talk about maybe 5k, 10k deficits. You know, is that too far behind for scaling to come to the conversation? But also, it's only 6 minutes in right now. Are we expecting much volatility in this bot lane, or do you think it's going to be a standoff, just a farm fest?
It should realistically be a standoff with just the junglers sort of dictating what plays are made around it. To me, the biggest points of contention will come when their Herald spawns at 8 minutes. So far, you know, Direwolf's not feeling any pressure whatsoever to head towards this dragon, instead opting to give Shaka a bit more time to clear his jungle and get ahead in that gold department. So realistically, the Chiefs, you know, they want to force objectives, yes, but realistically they can just wait. They can accrue, you know, those 2, 3, 4 dragons, threaten the Soul Point, threaten the Herald, as BioPanther not letting this crab go for free.
No, I mean, he's literally run down from top lane to play goalkeeper for mid lane, get vision control, and try and make Shaka's life a little bit harder in terms of acquiring that scuttle too. So a lot of resources put towards this very first Drake, which Chief said should be free. We do not believe Direwolves would contest this, and certainly we're right in doing so. But a minute for that first Herald. It'll be interesting to see how proactive Chiefs are for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It begs the question of whose 3v3 are you more confident in heading towards this? Obviously the Viego and Akali, an incredibly dangerous combo, but that being said, you have an all-out, you have a Wukong at level 6, plus the Ahri. There's a lot of mobility, there's a lot of single target bursts that could come through, so execution-wise, Shaka's 6 here.
He certainly is, but he's going to look to try and make the play. As we
That's
say
awkward.
that, there is that disconnect from Eladoric, which has not really come at the best time right now. We'll wait to get word as to what's gone wrong there, but for the meantime, I think this could be a good indication of Direwolves answering back and saying, no, that Herald isn't going to be a free play. We do have ultimates online, and much to your point, there is mobility, but there's a fair bit of damage too.
Yeah, there is. The Cyclone coming out, though, I don't think going to find too much value. Either Babip just walks away or uses the Heartbreaker, which he just got, crucially, from those mini Krugs. So realistically going to be either a trade of ultimates or actually going against the Direwolves, but the pause will come through. It almost feels like, you know, Shaka just pulled that trigger, he's gone in, and suddenly everything has stopped. As we wait to hear word on what is happening with this pause, a relatively slow game state, Skimmy.
Yeah, pretty calm, cruisy collective. I think very much on pace for what has been your stereotypical Direwolves game right now. Played out the laning phase, 15 minutes in, quick assessment of where your strength is at. And then, business as usual, really. That has been their mantra. That's really been their strong point, is to play from that 20-minute mark. As you literally heard Chaz say, they feel like mid to late game is where they excel. They certainly have found those moments. But I think as much as you can talk about some of the quote-unquote greedy picks that the Chiefs have possessed, they know how to make it work in the early game.
They absolutely do. And if you take what Chaz said at face value, where you pop them in any game at 20 minutes and they will win, they're one of the best mid to late game teams. So far, this game is exactly that, dead even. Sure, we're a bit far away from that 20-minute mark, but at the rate this game is going, provided Direwolves don't make any major slip-ups, they are looking to get into that mid-game on relatively even footing.
And I'm sure it's always that give and take of how much can you afford to give over and how much respect do you really give to your opponent to say that, hang on a minute, we are strong at this particular breakpoint of the game. We don't have to just, bend over and say, hey, we have a Cogmore, we can't do anything, guys. Oh, we're so squishy, we're so weak. So it'd be great to see just how competitive this does get in the early stages, because once again, we wrap it back to the point of, the double assassin mid-jungle duo of the Chiefs. And you're thinking, if they get a sniff of blood because Direwolves get a little bit too in over their head and think, hey, actually we're strong at this moment, a kill goes across, an item spike comes through as a result, and you're thinking, okay, I want to rock up now with this Cogmore, and the Cogmore's like, I don't want to do anything here.
Exactly, and that's what it has to be for me. It has to be a misstep from the Direwolves, because yes, these assassin duos are incredibly high damage, but very low in CC, right? The Viego W is literally the only thing out of those two champions that's going to be able to impair the movement of the Direwolves. So if you save that Wukong clone correctly, you have the Cassante there who's able to use his W as well. There are a lot of tools you have to negate this, and realistically, if you can avoid that first perfect execution from finding something, then an Akali is kind of stuck up the creek without a paddle, not really going to be able to find too much. So very execution-based, as we do see the ultimate coming out from the Wukong here, the Cyclone, potentially going to be unavailable for the first little bit of the Herald spawn, but should be up somewhat around that time as well. As Zoranus having a good time, playing Cassante into Scion. It's all smiles in the top lane.
I mean, it's just a vibe, isn't it? He's not going to be too concerned about his job there. I think ultimately this game is going to be very summoner dependent. I think if Flash is down, for instance, you can see that for Prade, if he's gone for Flash as well as Ghost, it's all about mobility. It's all about keeping distance. It's all about making sure that if they miss their mark, you can strike back even harder, right? So I feel like if there's ever a window where there's enough pain and punishment that goes their way, then obviously the Kog'Maw is going to be that sitting duck. But slight PC issue at the moment, hence why we're in a pause. We were just about to find a bit of a skirmish towards the top half of the map, leading into the very first Herald spawn of the game. It is the Chiefs with a minor lead to start this one off with the first Dragon, to be expected with the kind of composition they have. But, I mean, are you surprised to see Kog'Maw come out here?
I am, to be honest. I was kind of racking my brain to see what potential AD carry picks were left open. I think the Milio ban was a big signal that, you know, they didn't want to give over the Lucian with that pairing, but the fight's on, Skimmy.
It certainly is. We go back to live and we see exactly what does come of this first initial play. It's first blood. That goes the way of Direwolves. There is Chaz to pick it up, and that certainly makes mid lane a little bit sweeter.
Well, you do have to wonder how that happened, right? Because originally we went into the pause just seeing Shaka in the middle of a cyclone, and then suddenly Babib's being ripped across your screen by that all out there from Zoranus. So it's going to be the collapse from the Direwolves solo laners that's going to net them that first kill. And we talk about this 3v3 topside being so influential to how the game plays out. That initial kill coming, not only that, but Babib loses flash and ultimate, sets you up for a potential Herald.
It certainly does, and this could be the breaking point that Direwolves need to say that it won't be all sunshines and rainbows for the opposition to do as they please in these early moments of the game. Let's jump back then to the replay as to where we were at just before that pause. So it starts with Shaka hitting level 6, Babip hitting level 6 as a result of going for the Krugs. Oh. And then this Zoranus hits the most insane buffering that Babip doesn't know where to go.
Yeah, I actually don't know that that's how that's meant to work, because Viego is unstoppable during his ultimate, right? So shouldn't be able to get ripped back there, but it feels like the K'Sante ultimate still has a few bugs in the works, as it's going to be a 3v3 on Herald. Babip's in the pit, no way to get out, Skimmy.
No way to go at all. It's all about fighting right now as Bipanther's point blank hit them with the ultimate. Look to stun them up. Colossal smash onto one so far. In with the Magnustorm is Aladoric, ready to look to make his impact felt. Bipanther with Acadia he does no longer care about. Gets sent to the afterlife looking for more as they try and chase down Zoranus, but the shield goes up and the K'Sante survives.
It's incredibly close here. Shaka going down to start it off. You almost felt like that was the beginning of the end if Viego was able to get that reset, but crucially he dies outside of the pit. He dies far enough away that it doesn't signal the end for the rest of his team, and the Herald going to go into the back pocket of the Chiefs, who realistically were quite down in resources to start that play.
They were, but they've managed to at least get a kill as well as a Herald, and an equalizing factor to keep this game close. It all starts with them being completely routed in the pit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the charm misses crucially there. That's going to be denying a lot of the potential one-shot they have, and they try to take down Bipanther to start this off. But a nice ultimate onto 2 to buy space, and then look at Shaka. He knows he has to get out of here, because if he dies and Babib gets a reset, it's going to be reset city for the side of that Viego. Luckily, not going to be the case, and Zoranus lives on the tiniest sliver of health. Crucially, Decoy showing why he's so proficient on this Braum, saving his top laner's life.
Ridiculous amounts of damage there. You saw Kisei jump in for that final 5-point strike. It just wasn't enough. I think he limps away with 20 HP to his name. They are the slim margins that we play with at the highest level here. And back to laning phase we go, back to an even state.
Yeah, back to dead on even, basically. It's a tiny bit of a lead here for the side of Direwolves, but this is something Zoranus has been so good at in every single one of his lanes. Whenever he's playing a lane that he can min-max, can get a plate hero there with the Demolish, he will go for that. He's certainly a player who's not willing to just accept the tank first tank assignment. He will push the limit to whatever he can get, and, you know, finding that initial kill into Viego, finding a plate now here for himself, certainly making a name on these tanks, rather.
Certainly wants to have the skirmishing potential available to him, and given that injection of gold, even without the assistance of a jungler nearby. Speaking of, Shaka is going to go for the second clearing of the scuttle, clearing out vision at the same time as well, and making sure that the top half of the rivet does belong to the Direwolves, give the highway to success for the likes of both Chaz and Zoranus to freely roam and rotate. First item spikes are starting to come on through now. Gale Force complete here for Ray, static shiv done by Kisei.
Huge.
As well as the Iceborne Gauntlet here for Zoranus, and I think as much as we credit the ability for Chaz to rotate, now Kisei is a real menace.
Yeah, Kisei absolutely is. That static shift providing so much wave clear into this Ahri. You look at Bipanther as well, wanting to get that priority and then hover down potentially for an ultimate as this dragon spawning in 7 seconds. We have the Herald. We know that Raze is the prime target to receive that injection of gold. And it looks like the Chiefs are wanting to make something happen around this bot lane.
It is going to be a hard force, even with the reveal of Shaka making it a 3v3 in the bot lane. So Not a single plate has been found so far, but with the summon of Shelly, that's going to guarantee that they will find that gold. That Raze will be a little bit richer.
Oh.
But then Decoy flashes forward. It's the Glacial Fissure at the very tail end, catches Babip. Jumps out with the Heartbreaker, in with the TP. Kisei goes into the Shroud and gets excited. Finds himself one, looking for the perfect execution. 5-point strike gets it done. Living Artillery is not enough, as it is taken there by Chaz. And he nearly thought he had the escape plan. He used the second charge of his ultimate. But Direwolves take him down.
And it starts with the Braum engaging the play of all people, flashing forwards, getting that Q on towards Babip that enables the chase to come through. Meanwhile, on the back end, the teleport response from Kisei. I thought it was going to be another Kisei moment, but luckily, this Kog'Maw was untouched, able to dish out that consistent DPS. It will be the Dragon going into the hands of the Chiefs, but here it goes again. We see the flash Q coming forward, finds Babip not your ideal target, because he's able to use the Heartbreaker to get out, but then Aladoric stuck in harm's way, and Kisei finding so much space, but luckily, look at Praetor's DPS in this entire fight.
Yeah, just untouched. Does not have a care in the world, and that is paradise if you are a Kog'Maw, not a summoner burnt. And yes, you're not getting the killing blows, but you're racking up the assists, you're farming up a treat, you're sitting very pretty, and you're looking at your mid laner when you hit tab, and you're going, hey, Ari's 3-0-1, sure, gone the Everfrost, would have liked to see maybe a little bit more AP, but now you've got 4 members all looking towards the Kog'Maw to say, you are the star of the show, come late.
Yeah, you absolutely do, and Chaz. Oh, here comes Bio.
He's going to steamroll into this bot lane here, hit a 2-man knockout, a 2-man stun afterwards, and guaranteed at this time, double summoners will have to be burnt. Chaz is here, but he's run and kited into Kisei, who gets charmed, gets rooted, gets put in the shrouds, flashes to auto-attack him and takes him down, and Kisei is still alive, but not for much longer. The passive from the afterlife, Kog'Maw takes him down, but then in goes Chaz. He gets shot down by Raze. You don't want that to happen if you're a Direwolves fan.
Ult.
And Shaco's forced to flash away. Cyclone number 2, will that buy him enough time? He's got nowhere left to go. And Chiefs now have found far more.
This is why BioPanther is so feared in this region. You hear that silent ulti, you assume it's coming top. No, it's bot lane, BioPanther, Tokyo drifting in towards this, and not only the knock-up onto Decoy initially, it's the Q that lands onto Praetor that's key. Yes, he flashes and yes, he ghosts, but Kisei's here, it doesn't matter, it's too late. And that's a big turning point, right? We talked about getting on top of this Kog'Maw. He hadn't been touched up until this point, now gets taken down, as well as Chaz. Big win for the side of the Chiefs.
It certainly was. I mean, the CC overlap between the likes of the Sign as well as the Rel, that really started the fight off beautifully. It went downhill from that point because you just lose so much DPS. The damage is gone, and now you've got Bruisers ready to try and be there to protect the President, but the President's gone.
But this is exactly what makes the Chiefs so deadly, right? Is they have the experience to be able to call for a play like this. They have the foresight to be able to make the decision to get on top of this Kog'Maw early, stem the bleeding, and now, yes, sure, Praetor's the star of the show, but look at Raze, 3-0-3, Gale Force completed, working towards that LDR. He's certainly no slouch.
And we were just complimenting how far ahead Chaz was, and sure, he is still the second most fed in the game, but Raze is so far ahead of anybody else now. The real star of the show for the Chiefs to rally around. Did see a cheeky play, a little invitation to the top lane, but it's the Kasante after all, so nothing really is going to happen as a result of that one, but it's 15 minutes in, 2 dragons taken, and now looking at the second Herald.
Looking at the Herald, but Kog'Maw isn't here and is so much of your damage at this stage in the game. TP invested.
Sion's on his way, and the ultimate is only 5 seconds away. Babip's in trouble, forced to ult across the wall. No smite available for this fight. Kisei has found a target. Shuriken Flip has locked him in place.
No way.
And he goes for another one. Glacial Fissure knocks him up, just jumps away before the concussive blows can connect and lock him down further. But Shelly's going to reset. Down to what, 500 HP? And just out of leash range. Oh, we're in again though. 2-man Magnustorm. Aladoric's not messing around. He's actually the one to get the killing blow. Praetor completely zoned back. BioPanther soaking up the world and more, but then Zoranus says, did you forget about me? I'm a tank, I'm a carry, I'm an assassin, I'm every label and more. And they're going to turn it around completely and give themselves the Herald.
And this time the fight goes in the favor of the Direwolves. It starts off okay, but Kisei, you just feel like he got a bit too overconfident there, taking the E back into multiple members. Here it goes, starts out with Zoranus flashing to get the rip back onto Babip, but he's got the flash, he's got the Heartbreaker, manages to get out. But he's removed from this fight, right, Skimmy? He's not able to threaten a reset, just really waiting in the wings, watching his team. And it's this from Kisei, getting so chunked out. You've got 2 members on slivers of HP. Like you said, crucially, the Herald resets on about 300 health. Aladoric, big engage, but once again, it's Zoranus, the TP towards the bottom of your screen that finds the angle onto Aladoric, finds the angle onto Raze, that secures the team fight win.
Just TP difference ultimately, wasn't it? The fact that Viego doesn't have that luxury available to him, cannot get to this fight to match the numbers disadvantage, and easy as you like it, as strong as Raze is, he does get taken down, and it does give Praetor a bounty now.
Praetor sitting pretty on his completed Blade of the Ruined King, working towards that Rage Blade. The fun thing about Kog'Maw builds is you can really get experimental after this 2-3 item mark. You can head down towards some of the more tanky routes if you're worried about damage.
Sure.
And it really creates an awkward situation where, yeah, there's this guy who's one-shotting you, but he's also a 3,000, 4,000 HP tank, who even if you get past bomb is incredibly hard to kill. But as this Mounted Dragon spawning, third one of the game, it could be for the Chiefs. The Herald drop is going to ensure mid lane prio. Not for long.
Certainly is. Tell you what though, I always do enjoy a good Randuin's Omen on a Kog'Maw. Always very healthy for the game.
Look at Kisei.
Neither here nor there is Kisei is. Right now using the Oracles to try and find himself a flank. There was a blast cone to get himself in that may be denied now by Zoranus, hot on his heels, looking to try and chase him. As for Aladoric, also wrapping around from the opposite direction, completely boxing in the Direwolves. They've got nowhere to go right now. It's either fight or flight. And Chaz has missed his chance. And this would be Chiefs Dragon number 3.
They've marked their flanks so Skimmy. They're aware of the potential threats from the sides here. What is going to be the response from Chiefs? It looks like they're grouping up. Dragons 4K.
Looking at Zoranus to maybe start things up as Biopemper lands a 3-man knockup. Shaco's already flashed into effect. He's looking for the Cyclone, but he's completely whiffed it. Missed everybody. Barrett patiently waiting. Bio dropped down to 30%. Spirit Rush charges are being burnt. And out goes another charge. Shaco's saying, well, I guess I need to go for this. But then Zoranus jumps in with the most meaty and Tofo strike and knocks back so many members and does it again. He's given him a plan and he's bailed them out of a situation. 1 for 1 so far. But look at Praetor, completely untouched. He gets a little bit of attention shown to him now, but instantly flashes away. But he's just firing from afar, spitting hot fire on his opponent. Everfrost appeal, Kisei diving in, doesn't get the kill. Raze now surviving, looking for more. The Afterlife passive! Oh, it was close. You're nearly seeing a double kill, but just not enough.
You're not, but there's not much life still here. It is just going to be the end of the fight, Skimmy. That felt so drawn out. It felt like there was so much going on. But ultimately, the deciding factor is that Kisei goes unchecked in the back of that fight. The Direwolves do their due diligence. They find him out. They spot him. As we take a look again, it's an initial play on towards a Scion who loses a lot of health. But once again, Skimmy, it's a Scion. He's not really under any threat of going down here. And as you pointed out, Cyclone goes out. Ari Ultimate goes out. There's not many tools left on the back end of this fight. And look at Kisei here. No one's checking him anymore. He's able to get in off the back, as we see right here, and just wreak havoc in the back line.
This is a disgusting play from Zoranus, whether it be Na or whether it be Cassante. He will find an angle and find an avenue in to get them that team fight success. And it starts so well, and then they're forced to peel away, but just lose that front line, lose those tools to protect the Kog'Maw, and at this point, just gets run down.
Yeah, it's very close, even at the back end of it. You see Kog'Maw almost being able to kill the Akali mid-Shuriken flip, but as we're right back into the action out of the replay, Skimmy.
Well, it's 20 minutes on the dot, and Baron has just spawned, so we're looking to try and force the fight as a result. Stein goes in, meets his maker, finds a Wukong, gets knocked up there by the Magnet Storm, says that my AoE ultimate, a little bit better than yours. Zoranus says, isolated out Raze, and then Kisei says, how dare you touch my AD carry, picks himself up a triple kill. And Baron on their doorstep, their HP is still quite healthy. They might look to entertain this one.
Direwolves call themselves the best team post 20 minutes. Well, Skimmy, it's 20 minutes, 30 seconds, and the Chiefs looking much cleaner. Look at Kisei on the back end here. Praetor has no idea, no flash.
This is a disgusting flank. Kisei has no ultimate, but Praetor steps into the pit and says, I'll take down Stein. Just sacrifices his life for no good reason. Why are they entertaining the Baron denial? They had no reason to do so.
He's got, Aladoric's low.
Aladoric is so low, but Raze and Baron can take this one down as easy as you like it. You've denied Baron off a bruiser, but now they're TPing in to try and remove more. They're trying to keep them locked inside the Baron pit. Kisei's got the fancy feet, but Chaz is trying to get them. 2-man Everfrost, what was that? Insane!
No
Glacial Fissure, and they've got more than you could bargain for. This is beautiful. Maybe I wrote Direwolves a little bit too soon in this one. Charm just out of range. And I tell you what, only 2 Baron buffs remain.
2 Baron buffs remain. These teams are giving us a game for the ages here. Yes, it's the initial fight, goes into the Baron. Off the back end of it though, Chaz managing to stay alive, finding crucial kills, taking the Baron buff off of Kisei, off of that side lane threat, and importantly off of Raze, who has felt untouched. Even when he gets Cassante, ultimately he's fine. He goes Aladoric.
Oh my god, we don't even get time to analyze. It's just fight after fight. In we go again. Aladoric linking up beautifully with his jungler. Reset number 2 cannot be found. Beva doesn't have lethal just yet, but a TP, a stun, and there is that reset now. It is relentless. It really is just playing with numbers. Who can deploy back first?
And Biopanther finding Zoranus as well. Yes, it's the tanky Cassante, but he's behind enemy lines. You have to imagine he's just going to be another victim of the Chiefs' pursuit.
Seems to be that way right now. A slow, drawn-out death as he actually commits the ultimate towards it, but Biopanther picks that one up as easy as you like. And now, with those 2 Baron buffs remaining, whilst it's not giving them the most money at this stage, they've still got another 90 seconds to play with it.
It's hilarious how the start of this game, as Predator takes another stun to the face, there's a Kisei ultimate available, but no wave. I wonder if I'm going to be allowed to say my point here. I'll try to get it out, but for the start of this game being so quiet, so reserved, it's felt like ever since 15 minutes, the fighting has been completely non-stop. And the Direwolves, they've got a Cogmore. They need to be playing more reserved as Chaz.
Oh, Raze. He's been tagged and dead. Look at Aphelios. What a champion. Anything Cogmore can do, I can do better.
The prediction from the Moonlight Vigil as well, predicting that Ari dash to come out. It really is just like the Chiefs are reading the Direwolves like a book here. As I'm anticipating a replay to pop up any second, I don't even know what of at this stage, Timmy. It's really felt like this entire last 5 minutes could be played on a time lapse. But as we take stock right now, 58 seconds away from what could be a potential Mountain Soul, the Chiefs really starting to run away with this game 1.
Yeah, they certainly are. Let's run it back with the replay. This is how it all started initially. We came out of one replay back to live, which is the initial pick onto Sion.
But where's Praetor? That's the question you have to be asking yourself in this play. Is the Sion ult bugs there, which is why I was a bit perplexed at the start of it. But all this time the fight's going, here is where Praetor starts to hit, and even then it's only onto Aladoric, gets 2 autos and walks away. When you're playing a Cogmore comp, he is so much of your damage, you cannot take fights without him.
As you say, 2 auto attacks, the damage has already been done. 2 auto attacks, 2 kills have been found on his teammates, and at that point, you wrapped around and said, okay, I won't attend to the mid-wave, I will come back in, I will do damage to finish off Sion, but Kislei's like, hello, I'll finish you off. Let's forget about talking about the past, let's focus on the present, because we continue to fight. More kills than there are minutes, and there is that soul point up for grabs.
Ari ultimate has been burnt though, which is quite huge. As he goes Eldoric and Bio.
It's a one-man Magna Storm, it's locked in place, just decoy, but it's a fight on 2 separate fronts right now. Kisei so low, goes golden for the meantime. Bev looks to try and finish the job. Chaz is the target. The ultimate's already been used. Kisei jumps in again, he's found Praetor, but it's going to be taken there by Raze. He's burnt in a flash. Can Cogmore find a kill from the Afterlife? He cannot. Babip has just gone on cross-country duties as he's run you from bottom side to the top half of this jungle. He's found one, he's found a second, and we got ourselves a 25-minute ace.
It's desperation from the side of the Direwolves. They feel like they can't give over that Mountain Soul, and to their credit, they probably can't, but the Chief's going to say, all right, we're content with the ace, we're content with the base, and yes, it was a quiet early game, but we are going to take this game 1.
No,
in
we
true
certainly
Chiefs
are.
fashion.
No, we certainly are there, Max. They have just stamped their authority on this one. You've tried something different. You've tried to be creative. You've tried to throw a spanner in the works and upset us like Pentanet did yesterday. But not going to happen today. Done in 25 minutes. A very explosive game, which, as you rightly pointed out, quite in the early game. But when it came to team fighting, it was on like Donkey Kong.
Certainly was on like Donkey Kong. And with the Cogmore comp, bit of an out there pick. It really feels like the Direwolves just lost the discipline that they needed to have in that early game that allowed the Chiefs to get it so far out of control. And we talked about the chaos that an Akali and a Viego can create, and there was certainly chaos created in that game.
Too much chaos, and at this point, it just feels like my voice getting huskier and huskier and huskier.
Just like Donkey Kong, mate, it was on.
Yeah, I was going to say, the
like
only thing that was better than that game was the absolute banger one-liners coming out from freaking Max and Skimmy, man. Oh, and Alador coming in like Tokyo Drift around the corner.
We realized during the game that like there's certain phrases that we can't like unlearn in League. So Tokyo Drift is one of those that you just cannot unlearn. It's not Sion's ultimate at all, right?
just Tokyo Drift.
But it is Sion's ultimate.
We all know what that is.
Exactly.
Oh, that was good. That was great. It was it was an awesome game with just how much back and forth there was. The action. We've been absolutely treated today overall with these games, but Direwolves trying to find something, having fight in them until the very end. Unfortunately, it wasn't a cohesive, on the same page sort of fight.
Yeah, so for the Direwolves, first and foremost, they kind of had like this high burst pick composition almost, right? Where like the Wukong, the Ahri, the Cassante, they're trying to find those individual targets and take down. And the interesting part with that is they don't often have targets. So the Akali's hard to lock down. The Viego's impossible to lock down if there's ever resets. Rel and Sion are just going to be tanks. The caveat to that, and one of the weird things that like made me kind of really hopeful for their comp was the Kog'Maw, which like normal Kog'Maw comps have like a Lulu or something that stands in front of it, or like stands behind it rather and protects it, right? But like the Sion, this fight, perfect example of it, Bio starts it with like 200 HP because a Kog'Maw simply exists, right? Like Kog'Maw and Vayne are two of those champions that the second you're picking a tank and you see that, you're a little bit upset. But it did feel like eventually, these fights that were 50-50, Dai was executing this one really well. It just started to, like the pace just kept increasing. And with that, Chiefs found comfort in their comp, right? They found abilities to look for angles constantly. And Dials just got a little bit too caught up in, the pace that the Chiefs continued to set after Dials set it themselves.
Yep, Chiefs macro absolutely one-upping whatever Direwolves thought they had, as well as the APM coming out from Chiefs at these team fights. I do want to talk a little bit more about this Kog'Maw because, I mean, it's a Kog'Maw being picked up. Like, first of all, that's the topic in itself. But do you feel like it ever actually came online to a point where you were comfortable with it, Rusty? You had faith in it that, hey, Direwolves, settle down a little bit, just reset, and you really can take a 5v5.
Yeah, I had faith that it would do damage, right? I wasn't sure how much faith I had in how the comp would operate as a whole unless you played slowly to allow the Kog'Maw to just use his W timer to get that damage down. Where at the same time, like if the Kog'Maw is scaling, the Aphelios is going to scale equally, essentially, right? And almost just do more because he's a team fight scaling champion that can just Infernum weapon once, and like Kog'Maw has to attack and press probably 40 different keys to equal that one DPS burst. So it is an odd one to me. Cog Braum doesn't sit right in a lot of ways. I get some of the merits behind it, but ultimately Chiefs just, like their draft is for them, it's just Exodia.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree there. I think to me, the Kog'Maw didn't really reach that point where you are worried about it being this unkillable demon that's just going to rip through the entire enemy comp. And to a lot of that credit was the fact that the Chiefs just kept up the tempo of the game. There was never, like we joke about it, but there literally was never a period of downtime for more than a minute in that game. And ideally, Kog'Maw was sitting able to hit waves, but they always felt pressure, whether that be a Soul, whether that be a Baron, to fight.
Yeah, needs the summoner spells as well, right? How many times did they actually fight in this game with the Kog'Maw having no flash or ghost, and you're playing into a Rel and a Sion that are going to lock you down? So it was a tough game to be Praetor.
Yep. They definitely were still in it, though. This is what I was saying. Even though fights might have started off well, they were drawn out to still end up in the favor of Chiefs. That goal difference graph, we saw it. It was staying pretty steady, just a little bit up and down. True. And then it was just that one Baron kind of like just really blew it open. Massive downhill slide. And you're just like, okay, Direwolves, they were just shattered from there on out. It felt that everyone was in a different lane. No one really wanted to come back together. Maybe even in their mind, they're just like, hey, let's reset for the next game. Let's kind of look towards that. And we can have a discussion about that, right? Let's talk about what we want to see for this next game, because the sides are going to be the same. We're going to be seeing Direwolves going back on that blue side. Do you think learning now they're going to have a better opening pick? Was that letdown, or was this, hey, why did you pick up the Kog'Maw when there was still quite a lot still left in the pool for yourselves? I
think their draft is completely fine. I think to me it is a matter of discipline, and we saw in a lot of those replays when Dire was getting caught out, they were actually in the enemy jungle, right? The one play that started it all, the main cascade out of control was a red buff. If you're Sharka, you just need to be saying, okay, that's not what I'm going for whatsoever, right? We just need to snowball and turtle a little bit. So it's more adapting and saying, okay, we're happy being on the back foot now because we know it'll benefit us later.
I did not realize, Rusty, you wanted a replay, right? You wanted to break something down that game one. So I apologize for jumping all the way to game two, because you wanted to talk about this turning point of the Baron fight.
Yeah, so like turning point is a tough way to explain this, because this is that example of like Praetor's not being here when the fight happens, and he's obviously like the MVP when these fights take place, right? So the fact that he's not here means a lot of the damage goes missing. And the part that I really enjoyed from the Chiefs after this is, first of all, the snap decision to go for the Baron buff, right? They're not going to hesitate. They're going to go straight to the Baron. They know they have the HP for it. But secondly, Kisei, who is immediately aware that he does no damage to Baron because he's an Akali with a static shiv. He's just an assassin. And so instead of going there, he recognizes there's only 2 people alive in their carries. And so doesn't even hesitate, doesn't skip a beat, and puts himself on a flank. Prevents the ability for a Kog'Maw to stand at a longer range than any of the Chiefs can actually get to and put down damage. So like little things like that from Kisei are actually just game defining.
This was more props to Kisei rather than what are you doing, Direwolves?
Yeah. Yeah, because they played that super well. Can't fault it.
And I think every game he plays Akali, it's the same thing where we saw how much the Direwolves are having to put into just trying to find him and mark him on these flanks. And even once he gets into the fight, he's just such a nuisance in the backline. So yes, he's not dominating the lane in the same sense that he usually does on other picks, but in these team fights, he's just such a nuisance.
Do you want to add anything, Skim, or you want to rest that voice?
You know what I'll do?
Oh. You want to have a bit of a cheeky drink?
I'll give myself some energy to cast the next game because at this pace, it's just going to be bang after banger. So, you know, whilst you keep talking, I'll keep sipping.
All right, you sip that Dare Ice Coffee. Which flavor did you get before we go too far
Well,
away
today
from it?
I will be entertaining what is known as espresso.
Did you have espresso yesterday, Max?
Yeah.
You did.
Every day is an espresso day.
Every day is
With
an
the power of
espresso
espresso.
day. Yeah, well, you can
What a
take
great
your
series.
Dare sip. We heard from you, Max, of it very much being an execution thing for game number 2. Rusty, we'll hear your thoughts of what you want for game number 2. But first, we're going to do a check-in for Champion Bingo. Bingo Champion, whatever you want to word it.
Yeah, Skimmy's rising the ranks, so let's just say.
Skim, dude, they hovered.
I know,
fresh,
that's what I was saying.
Oh, bro, if they had picked it, I'd be like, we're done.
If
Skimmy's
I saw
safe,
that-
Skimmy's safe.
I saw the Philo's fault. Philo's fresh. Philo's fresh. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Didn't
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
But it should have happened.
It should have.
Should've, should've happened.
Should have, could have, would have.
You're in danger. 1 game left. You've got 1 on the bingo card. Max and myself are only 1 ahead, though.
All I need is 1, and
What's
you
a
guys
tie?
to get none. I said scissors, paper, rock.
Probably a
But
paper,
I-
scissors, rock.
I assumed it would be maximum a 2-way tie. So if it's a 3-way tie, I am actually not too sure
I think
what
we
we're going
just
to
see
do.
a
It won't
1v1
be-
bracket
it won't be a
in,
tie.
in
Oh,
Summoner's
what's your
Rift,
1
yeah?
rep max, mate? There we go. Like
I was going to say, the odds of me getting a Draven, LeBlanc, Zach, Camille, like, let's just say,
So you
I
need
think we
Schönfire
won't
to
have
be
to
playing?
worry
Yeah.
about
What
it.
you
Picked
need.
him,
That's
you
what
can't
I
sell
said.
on your own
I
picks.
said Nat actually
You
picked
know what?
Penta.
Faith in him.
Legit.
You know what? Let me just say this, okay? Even if I lose, I am happy. I am proud because I proved Max wrong. He said I wasn't going to get a single pick.
I said it was a 50-50 for Viego.
No,
I'm not going to get in the middle of this.
Let's cope.
That's
run
correct.
back the clip. Someone find it. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get a single pick today, Nat.
Actually, I think you did say I wouldn't
like
be
wheezing
surprised.
will
And then I said it's a coin flip on the Viego. Run the script. It's in the logs.
History
I'll
is
stand
written
by
by
it.
the victors. That's all I'm going to say.
Where's
Yeah.
the receipts?
Right
At
now,
19:02
all that matters is
at
whatever Skimmy
5:38
says.
PM, you said this, Nat. Do you deny?
No, I plead guilty.
Survey says.
Guilty.
Guilty.
On the board. Ding, ding, ding.
You missed it. That was a lovely close-up examination.
Oh, sometimes I love production. That's a lie. I always love production.
Sometimes.
And I love that they're going to bring up our From the Fans, where you guys have submitted. We asked you what your favorite emote to spam was. Thomas said, why was I writing this tweet again? I've forgotten. And his little emo is right there above Rusty's knee.
It's the frog.
That's
Frog
good. That's a
question
good
mark?
one.
What noise does
gotta
that
give
frog
him a
make?
quick
Isn't it like...
It's a croak. It's like...
Good.
Wait, is there a difference between... There's a difference between a frog and a toad noise. The toad noise is the deep one. And the frog is like the more higher pitched, like...
Can you demonstrate?
Absolutely not. I'm a voice
Okay,
actor.
let's go
Right,
through
no.
the animal kingdom.
Okay.
Woof, woof.
That's my
A
thing.
wolf.
Meow.
Kitty cat. Did you know? No, this is a fun fact. If a cat can purr, well, not a cat, but like a lion, tiger sort of realm. If they can roar, they can't purr, and if they purr, they can't roar
Why is that, Nat?
because it's in the back of their throat. I forgot what it's called, but it starts with an L, I'm pretty sure, and it's hard.
Dial's
a
game
larynx.
one.
Yeah, and if it's hard, then that
starts
means
with
that
an
they can
L.
roar, and if it's like the soft version of it, it means that
Oh.
it's able to like reverberate, and they're able to purr with it.
Fair enough.
There you go. Don't say we don't teach you
So
anything on this
effectively an Adam's
broadcast.
apple.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Right.
like the cat version of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
National Geographic on LCO.
What can I say? Another
even see that.
from the fans is, other than the thumbs up / generic happy emoji,
Oh, it's like
this
the
one
owner
gets
thinking.
the most mileage. I love that
It's this
phrasing.
one, which is like,
It's never
Smiley.
left my emote wheel.
Oh, Jesus.
Do it again, Skip.
That is the noise Leona makes. That's true, yeah.
Wait, is it that?
Did you
Or
know
does she have her hands
that
together?
Leona's
She
after
have
a
her
certain
hands together.
size per?
What?
starts with a W.
It's his birthday. Forgive him.
Did she do this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, this. Isn't it this?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
it's
I just posed for the sake of it. I've just gone Ziz mode. Okay, ignore. Forget it.
this. Yeah, Skimmy doesn't know too many emotes. We'll forgive him. And with that, we are going to go to a break. Make sure you guys stick around because we're going to see Chiefs and Direwolves play another game in this best of 2.
Being able to kill the Akali mid shuriken flip. But as we're right back into the action out of the replay, Skimmy.
Well, it's 20 minutes on the dot, and Baron is just spawned, so we're looking to try and force the fight as a result. Stein goes in, meets his maker, finds a Wukong, gets knocked up there by the Magnet Storm, says that my AoE ultimate, a little bit better than yours. Zonis says isolated out raised, and then Kissick says, how dare you touch my AD carry, picks himself up a triple kill.
Don't tell me now, I got everything I want to. Don't stop me now, I'm a juggernaut. Don't turn around, cause you don't know what's behind you. Don't turn around, don't turn around. We'll see it now, saying everything we want to. We'll take your time, we won't hesitate. Don't turn around, cause you don't know what's behind you. Got you, we turn the page because we want to. Yeah. Yeah, we run that, we leave this place. If got you, we turn the page because we want to. Hey, yeah, we run that, we leave this place. If tired of living in this age. We're tired of losing, turn the page. We're tired of repeating this day. I drive you out of this city. Got you, we turn the page because we want to. Yeah, yeah, we run that, we leave this place.
He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kisley's not able. It's a pentakill.
Second, they'll find a second. Chippies is on an absolute tear right now.
Welcome back, game 2 for our second best of 2. Direwolves up against Chiefs, and Chiefs back in form. They're looking good. They got the dub in game 1. So Direwolves are gonna have to pull it back. They're gonna have to fight back.
They could bite back, yeah.
Dude, is it
could
like
do
the
that.
presence of Skimmy that just makes us slightly deranged?
Yep. It's
That's a
affecting me
proximity
more and
debuff.
more each
It's like
day.
this aura he just
can't do it.
admits. It's just around him.
Hey, we're here for a good time, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's right. I'm always here for a good time, and watching League of Legends is great, but playing League of Legends is even better.
Love
That's
that.
right, Batman's butler.
Michael Caine.
That's right, Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Wayne, I will not leave you,
Friday
Mr.
night,
Wayne.
Mr. Wayne. Community
This
Games
Friday,
night, Mr. Wayne.
June 30th, Mr. Wayne.
Oh my god.
Do you want to read it?
I will. This Friday, we are doing a community night. Oh, someone else?
Yeah.
Wait, I've just got words
Yeah.
from Mordred right now that actually, before the game starts, we are going to have a keynote speaker known as Michelle Obama
No
actually
way.
announcing the rosters to go and take place on the Rift here.
That's
Michelle
incredible.
Obama.
Unbelievable.
That's also crazy because Mordred just told me that we're actually having KDA at the opening ceremony of community night too.
Unbelievable. What's that? They're actually going to be doing a live performance at the LCO playoffs. Tell you what, Mordred, I don't know who you know. Your
That's
contacts, your
insane.
agents, your manager.
Friends in high
Whatever
places.
strings he's got, they're going across the world. He's going global.
Work
pulling
it.
in the-
You're working your magic, and I'm all here for it.
God, he's doing wonders for the LCO here. And you too can have some wondrous channel points. You could have a heap of treasured, prized possession channel points here for the LCO. I don't know what I was going for. If you get your prediction right, then you can reap the benefits, reap the rewards, but you got to place them in that top right-hand corner over there that I'm pointing right through Rusty's head over there. Of who you think is going to win game 2. We all predicted Chiefs 2-0.
Yes, sir.
You guys get the advantage of at least seeing game number 1 for if you're going to get it right in chat. So
Chad has an advantage at all times. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Of
course.
They can
They
pick
got
between
draft?
games.
Yep.
and you pick between
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. It's cheating, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I will
We're
remind
still
you,
beating them though.
You dock points.
they're the
You guys
same as
suck.
me. They're the same as me. You and me Twitch chat. It's okay. Okay.
Oh,
We can
you
sit
have
on the
the
bottom
same
together.
points, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same as
Oh,
Twitch
no.
chat.
Oh, well, that's
No, you got to focus on bingo first.
Just stare
There are
there.
bigger things there.
That's a bit awkward, isn't it?
You know what?
Prediction.
I'm okay with it. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, so
Flavour
no side
nostrils.
swap was the other thing that we were going to talk about, but it doesn't matter because there's no time. Instead, we're just going to jump straight on in to game number 2.
Let's do
Production
it.
just said, cool story, bro, but let's get on with the games. And that's what we're going to do. Die Wolves once again, blue side. Let's see if they've got anything crazy, like a Cogmore, to try and bring this series back to a draw.
It would look like we're running it back so far if bans are any indication. Direwolves taking off the Maokai, Rakan, and Syndra to start. And the question is, what is going to be that mid lane pick? Because we have a situation where Akali is once again up. You know, the Chiefs more than willing. I mean, Skimmy.
Yeah.
It's written in the stars.
I mean, it has to be. At this point, they're just saying the draft wasn't the issue, it was the execution more than anything. And I think, quite honestly, you were very aligned on that point, right? Quite happy to run it back with a lot of the similarities. I mean, you can definitely interchange a few parts, perhaps the bot lane. It would be an area to look at, but
Okay.
Chiefs might change it up a little bit themselves now and say, we know what your recipe is, we are familiar with your game plan, we are going to look to, you know, utilize the Cassante instead.
Yeah, taking the Cassante off the board, keep in mind, Kisse, one of the mid laners who also plays this champion as well. I wouldn't be expecting it to go towards him, given his proclivity for something like an Akali, for something like an Assassin. But that being said, Chiefs are already saying that, you know, maybe that Cassante was a bit of a problem, especially in the priority that it provides in the early game. You're giving over Ahri and Cassante, but already Chiefs taking 2 leaves out of the Direwolves book.
They said you can have your Ari, but we'll take away everything else that made it so strong, and that does force Direwolves then to get a little bit more creative as a result. We did see a few vibe bans over the week, but that is now going to be locked in place, paired alongside nicely with a Zaya. It just screams to me now that, you know, anything that you lock in as an AD carry, not going to be easy then to try and shut us down.
And that's exactly right, and I think it's why the Zaya pick is so smart, is you're saying we have this fantastic single target lockdown. Zaya, one of the champions that can negate that so well with her ultimate, and it's going to be potentially a Raze Classic
Wow.
here. The Tristana, I'm not sure when the last time he played this, but he has been known for this in the past. Certainly one of those champions who's able to scale up and jump all around a team fight, finding reset after reset. So, as well able to buffer a lot of the CC, create a bunch of distance between himself and something like a Vi or Ahri if they were to jump in.
Yeah, it's been such a hot minute since we've seen this be anywhere but mid lane as basically a Fido classic really at this point right now. It's been so out of the meta that this would really say that you want to try and outrange me, but then I have mobility, so Aphelios can be banned, it can be ignored.
It still could be mid, that being said, right?
True,
It
sure.
could go towards that mid lane, you could run something like a double 80 carry comp. I'd be a bit hesitant though, because if you are then expecting the Direwolves to pick up a tank like a Sion or something, you have a very easy time playing into that triple AD composition. So it's going to be Gwen, it's going to be Jax taken off the board, 2 of Cassante's hardest matchups and carries that Zoris is very proficient on, so the Chiefs wanting to negate a bit of that scaling, a bit of that carry potential that we know Zoranis has in that top lane.
Yeah, it's definitely making sure that he can't win in terms of slicing and dicing down some of these bruises. Gwen and Jack certainly at the forefront of just that. They're not convinced that Tristana would be planted in the mid lane just yet. Those two AP bans. And Lissandra being hovered right now to basically say, you know, this is our own spin on a particular Kog'Maw build.
Yeah, it definitely is, and also has options to go forwards, right? You think about the team fighting potential of a Lissandra and Wukong, all the AoE damage and CC that you provide there, as well a very safe pick into the likes of Ahri and Vi, right? Perhaps the cease and desist comes through, you chuck that ultimate on top of yourself, you are feeling A-okay. And laning phase-wise as well, you're sort of just matching that clear, matching her roam. And it's going to be the Nautilus coming through for Decoy here, a pick he is incredibly proficient on, able to add to the already insane amount of CC that the Direwolves have.
They have a lot, and it's obviously impossible to ban out Zoranis. You can deny the Gwen, you can take away the Jax, but if we know anything about his champion pool is that he makes impact. It was felt on the Cassante. We saw what he did in the game with the Gnar to get themselves that 4-man stun into Kanga, which was phenomenal. And it's a great way to round out their composition to give them the single target lockdown, but then the team fight comprehension as a result too. Chiefs, the final nail on the coffin for them is just more protection, more appeal, and more ways to make life a misery here for Direwolves. Alistair is their support counter pick, and I think really rounds it out.
And I'm pretty sure Rusty just got 3 out of 5 of his bingo champions on one team with the Direwolves comp here. We'll have to fact check that, but the Ahri and the Vi coming through, and Alistair, Aladoric on this champion. You look at that Chiefs composition, there is so much engage around these team fights. Sure, Praedyth is going to have that Xayah ultimate available to protect himself, but you have to watch out for 5, 6, 7 different forms of CC coming through and threatening him. So to me, it's going to be which team can get on top of the enemy carry more effectively and quickly.
But it just seems so similar to the draft that Direwolves had with 4 bruises, layered with CC, protecting our hyperscaling carry. The same could be said. Obviously, the major difference is that you do have the rocket jump. So if you are concerned about the fact that a Vi can take you down, or that there's a spirit rushing in charm or a depth charge, or any of those kind of concerns, rocket jump away to safety. You let the front line then walk in, deny their advancement, if you will, and you say that we can play the comp you were trying to do just better. Absolutely,
and to me the biggest thing as well this game is the amount of CC coming out in every single lane, right? You look anywhere on the map, particularly around this mid lane, Vi, Ahri, taking on Lissandra, Wukong, there's so much room for ganks to come out earlier that we didn't really see the last game because of the more passive nature of these lanes. So to me, it's going to be a lot more explosive early game and really testing the Direwolves in that facet of the game that they're perhaps not so comfortable on.
Well, to answer your question from before about when was the last time we saw Raze play this one, it was actually played at the playoffs in PCS quite recently, so 3 months ago to the day. But in terms of this matchup in particular with an Alistair as your pairing, that was last seen when he had a stint over in LCS back in 2021.
Wow.
So it's been a hot minute since these two have been played in the bot lane together. Either way, it is Chiefs that lead the series, currently 1-0, and are looking to try and close things out here in our very first Super Week with only 3 matches remaining. This is certainly a big ask for not only Chiefs to reclaim first place, but for Direwolves to prove that they deserve to be in that top 2, top 3 conversation.
Absolutely wanting to make their mark here. And, you know, like you mentioned, Skimmy, getting that 1-point split not only advantages yourself, putting you higher in the standings, but it also makes that the Chiefs are going to have a hard time fighting for first, right? With currently tied for Bliss in first place. So a nice level 1 play that doesn't end up coming to fruition as Direwolves are patient. They wait for those recall timers to come out. But I'm so excited. You look at this bot lane, Tristana Alistair is such an explosive lane that as soon as it gets level 2, basically, there's going to be fighting non-stop in this bot lane.
And that was going to be the big thing that I wanted to touch on, right? As much as we talk about the similarities between games 1 and 2 and what they're really built to try and do, there clearly is a different approach to this game, right? The bot lane obviously being a key one, right? Where the Cobalt wants to be a lot more passive. The Tristana wants to try and hit you with that Ignite, Exhaust, Cheese level 2 all-in potential. But across the board, you're expecting Chiefs to almost match or mirror how Direwolves played it out and very calm until we get to 15, 20 minutes?
If I'm the Chiefs, I'm saying all signals are go. Basically, anytime we can fight, we should be fighting. And I think that sentiment is one that's echoed by the Direwolves, right? Realistically, this game is going to be about mechanics checking in these little skirmishes, these 2v2s, these 3v3s, that's going to allow you to accrue those leads. Because coming into team fights, there's realistically too much to worry about for it to be an ordered front-to-back fight. That's just not how this game is going to play out. As we can already see, the bot lane getting a slight priority advantage, but it really is this level 2 mark across the board where we can expect action to start.
Yeah, naturally you can see that you got to show much respect, especially when the hook is available. No minion wave to protect you. Decoy has that one moment to strike and misses that opportunity. And that means now that Tristana can certainly step up and be a little bit more aggressive in the wave to try and push it out and match the farm that Praetor has. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, you did see that Chaz doing a fair chunk of damage into Kisei. Both walk away. Refillable potion, or corrupting pot rather, being used to get themselves topped up and healthy again.
Interestingly, Kisei actually managing to maintain control of this lead here, right? Going for this Comet build, offering a bit more early game damage and actually having the better of Chaz in this health department early on in the game. Wave control, Chaz wanting to sacrifice so Shaka is able to get that vision, but Babip's around mid lane. Chaz is very low.
They're looking to try and make the play happen, but this would be the hardest force that isn't going to be too reliable. Not much CC at this point, right? You're really looking at Alessandra W, and still obviously you've got Chaz with the flash away. Meanwhile, bot lane, Decoy going to try and make a play happen, but just gets knocked away and told not to really have any fun there. I suppose one concern of Tristana is the fact that it's not really ideal CSing underneath your turret with that explosive passive, almost griefing the lane state in a way, right? So you want to almost hold it just in front.
Yeah, it's absolutely very hard for Tristana if you're able to get those waves under her turret. That being said, for mid lane, this is my point of concern here for the side of Direwolves. Ari is a champion who wants to have control of that early on, but Kisei doing a very nice job. Luckily, the wave is coming to Chaz, so he will be able to collect it. Potentially toss a TP back here as Kisei threatening, but you know he's never going to take that one.
Never taking that one, but showing warning signs. I think he's actually recalling just outside the bush right now, and Direwolves are fully aware of it, but not going to make any response towards it. Jazz is just going to TP straight back to lane with the Dark Steel on hand, and Shaka's going to take an opportunity then, knowing that, to lay a little bit of vision on this side of the map to see if he can find anything. Decoy then takes the opportunity to try and start off a bit of an engage by going into Raze. Exhaust has been burnt. Raze has already rocket jumped in. Instant rocket jump out. I think as soon as he saw Shaka there, he thought, hang on a minute, this is not what we want.
It felt a bit overzealous jumping into the Xayah Nautilus there. At the end of the day, it is only going to be an exhaust for exhaust trade, so you're kind of happy with that, but already we can see the tendency for these bot lanes to get up in each other's face, and the wave being held just outside the Chief's turret means that they're able to get this push off on the reset, potentially crash it before Praetor gets back to base and rescue themselves from what would be an otherwise quite hard lane state.
Yeah, I mean, every offensive summoner has to be burnt, right? Every flash still up and available. Decoy just going to try and interrupt the recall timing there of Aladoric as he holds this wave in place with Praetor, who's making his way back to lane now. Chiefs will then try and take an opportunity to quickly crash this one in. And even at the power as Praetor returns with a lot of strength.
Yeah, that wave getting in is huge. Sure, it sucks for Tristana to CS under the turret. One thing she's very good at, though, is pushing those waves when you need them under the enemy turret. So no issues there. Going to be able to get their reset. And Aladoric, we saw how active he was on the rel across the map last game. You have to imagine it'll be the same this game. Is Chaz getting forced back to base again, Skimmy, by Kisei in this mid lane matchup?
Certainly not ideal. Certainly not where you want to be right now. You'd want to be utilizing that range advantage into the Lysandra, but Kisei really having a way with it, and he's going to actually hit level 6 first as a result too. Checking in with a previous game that Babip had on the Wukong as well. Champion that he's found a lot of success with, quite honestly. Played a big part in his ability to carry them to the championship last split, and has really allowed him to link up quite well with Aladoric to be a very proficient, you know, jungle support pairing. I
mean, last split before Kevin was even on the team, this was his one pick that I thought, you know, really showed me the Babip of old, the Babip who is able to carry those games, and for good reason. It provides that perfect mix of engage, playmaking, with the damage to consistently carry fights, and I think that when you have Babip playing on a champion like this that he's so comfortable and so proficient on, it only creates more threat in the minds of the Direwolves, who are already having to worry about Kisei and Raze.
Direwolves now deciding what their next play is. Vision is being planted in the bottom side of this river. First Dragon has been up for a minute or so now.
Shaka?
Finding it a little bit difficult to try and make that happen as they wrestle for control of mid lane, and bot lane isn't going any better for them right now, so Shaka's instantly forced to flash across the wall. Then that means Kisei just instantly hits the Frozen 2 and says, well, that's the freest first blood of our lives. What was Shaka thinking to try and force that with no lanes to respond to the play? Gets taken down.
And this is what I'm talking about, the trigger pull, right? No hesitation there from the Chiefs. It is a misposition from Shaka. realistically, if you're wanting to interrogate that play, he should have used the flash before the Q comes out so that one doesn't end up getting interrupted. But it is going to be him going down. And off the back of that, a Dragon nonetheless. So, yes, it's a volatile team composition. Yes, this was only the first kill at 7 minutes, but already the Chiefs showing that, hey, 1 kill equals 1 objective equals snowballing for the rest of the game.
Exactly what you want, right? As much as the Lissandra and Viego flourish, it's about getting those kills, it's about getting those resets, more damage, more potential, more control of the map state as a whole, really. The objective feels really good for them, that's for sure. And it is just going to bleed over into these other lanes as a whole. 1-0 in the series so far, and 90% of you feeling like it could actually be them to take it all out. It's Predator in trouble right now. The passive of Alistair getting him stunned in place. Ray's bleeding and burning from the Ignite, but unable to be taken down right now. And Babib is here, and I think Predator has resigned himself to death. And it's Babib that bonks him on the head to find his second.
Yeah, Babib having a field day here on this Wukong. You do have to wonder what the Direwolves were thinking there with their jungler on the top side, being spotted out on vision nonetheless as well. So Chiefs having full confidence to pursue that play-in. This 2v2, we talked about how crucial it is to the overall game state. With Praedyth going down, not only that, but missing this much CS, the lead that Raze has is only ever expanding.
It's a great start for Tristana, scaling and just crashing and pushing and really feeling so strong in this current state of affairs. It is going to be Direwolves looking to answer back as Shaka takes over to 6 himself to pick up the hero, but it all starts with them trying to be aggressive.
Yeah, it does. I think they want to get this wave in. You can see that it could be potentially frozen, but it's a headbutt pulverize immediately to come out. And once that Xayah ultimate is used, Praedyth is really in a rough position here. He knows he can't run down. Even if he flashes to try to call the feathers back through Raze, Raze is good enough to react flash to that. You're realistically not going to get a kill. So Praedyth acknowledging, okay, I've burned the ultimate. I'm not going to waste my flash as well. I'm just going to go down here.
Yeah, respects the fact that he's in a bit of a rough situation and preserves it for the next fight that will break out. 9 minutes in though, Chiefs going to be feeling quietly happy with how this game has played, given the state that they want to scale up, they want to protect Tristana, which is in laning phase anyway. Starting to pull ahead. Will certainly be a bit of a menace if left to the wayside to start, you know, attending these side lanes later on with the exhaust as an option to try and take some of those 1v1s.
That's the thing about Tristana, is it opens up so many avenues you don't have with those traditional AD carries, right? It can act as a quasi-assassin in those side lanes. If your AD carries farming there, suddenly you've got Tristana rocket jumping over the wall and taking you out. To me, it's Babib that's the main factor here for the Chiefs. It's the point of concern, right? Wukong is a champion who thrives at a one-item spike. He's so good at these early Herald, early Dragon fights, and getting into that spike earlier only exacerbates that problem for the Direwolves.
100% Sheen online nice and early, and a Divine Thunder to come through, seemingly at the 10 to 11 minute mark would just put them in such a prime position to then really take over this game, even more so than they already have. Decoy going to hit a clone, hit a decoy himself, basically. Not going to find what he's after.
Uh-oh, no
and
flash.
The blast going in, and Eladoric says, well, that's my ticket to go, go, go. Depth charge goes out, 2-man knockup raises. DPS has been interrupted for the meantime. As he rocket jumps in, double exhaust goes out, flash away. Denies the potential of Shaka returning the favor. Chaz is here now, and he's got the ultimate, but doesn't find what he's looking for. Has to maybe settle for Eladoric, who gets run down by Praedyth. And, well, ultimately, it's just 2 supports falling victim.
It is ultimately a trade. It starts out, though, with almost a repeat of last game, where it's the Direwolves pushing a bit too far forwards. Luckily, here, though, the difference maker is Chaz, able to get there to the play first, meaning that the Chiefs don't have the confidence to push forward to rocket jump offensively. As we take a look again, Decoy fishing for that hook, not hitting anything, means he is in the waiting arms of Eladoric. Luckily, he survives for quite a long time, and Shark is here. The exhaust coming out, the Vi ultimate, means that Raze has to just exit the fight, and that enables the space for Praedyth to take down Eladoric.
Yeah, as soon as he's flashed away, the Buster shot to disengage, his fight's done. He's not longer, no longer a participant in this one. There is that 11-minute Divine Thunder, as Bev did actually pick up the 3rd kill of the game for himself. But now we go top side, and, well, just play safe, really. Zoranus got tossed around like candy.
Bouncy house, that is. Honestly, Zoranus, poor guy, getting hit with every knock-up available in the game to get taken down. He thought he was safe in top lane. Unfortunately, not to be the case. And it really feels like Babib, wherever Babib goes, it's good news for the Chiefs.
Certainly wants to make sure his KP becomes 100% this game, because that's where it's at right now. Coming into the 12-minute mark, we're checking with the total gold as a result of it, and it's not very often you see a jungle at the top of the charts, but right now it is all about Wukong.
Yeah, no surprises there. Already having the Sundara completed, we talked about how strong a spike that is. When with Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, you have to imagine the Chiefs feel confident taking any sort of skirmish around this bot lane.
Rival's going to look to try and lock them in lane for the meantime here, as that Dragon does spawn, and with Chiefs having the first one, they're forced to respond to this Herald in the bot lane. Now, Chaz is going to respond first as well. That means 4 members are in the area, but Chiefs could look to try and force a pincer from the left-hand side as well. And it's the Charm going out first and foremost. That is the flash engage, and that is everybody getting knocked up as Chaz gets knocked away there by Raze. Stunned is Praetor as he can't do much with the Fever Recall. Kisse self-cast the ultimate, denying any possible kill to be found. And Decoy now locked in place by the Alistair, but a hook goes awry, and Zoranus will graciously pick up that kill. You think that Chiefs would have had more there, but unable to find more than just one.
You'd think they would, but it's a huge depth charge from Decoy, knocking out multiple members, and the threat of Zoranus turning Mega that ultimately dissuades the Chiefs from pursuing. That being said, TP's being committed. The Chiefs are not done.
They want to hard force this one, and with the Dragon under 1400 HP, they say we've got TP advantage and we will win. Featherstorm goes out, Praetor rips the back, and he's sniped away Raised. That's what you want, but then you've forgotten that Fire Panther's here, and he's found a double kill. Zoranus, what will you do? Well, you can't find anything more. Maybe a snipe across the wall onto the Wukong to get yourself a shutdown. But now the top half of Chiefs, I mean, it is unbelievably
fed by Panther, almost out of nowhere, now sitting at 4-0-1. As we see that yet again the Chiefs unwilling to give anything. It's very reminiscent of their last game. As we take a look at how this initially starts, the Charm landing onto Babip, but who's there? Absolutely no one. Shaka goes into the middle of no man's land, and that's the depth charge I'm talking about there, finding so much value. So yes, Shaka falls, but off the back end of it, there's actually quite a lot of DPS still remaining for the Direwolves. You see on the bot side of your screen, Praetor able to free hit, and then it's really Zoranus here, who, threatening the Mega Transformation, forces the rest of the Chiefs away.
He certainly does, hops across the wall and says, well, I've got Mega now. But by which point, Chiefs have already backed away from the fight, and then you just see a TP on the Pixel Bush here, and they said, this Dragon's not over.
No, it definitely isn't. TP comes out as well, and Babip, yes, he's low health, but he's got the Sundara, he's got the W, he's got a lot to ensure his survivability here. And realistically, there's no damage from the Mini-Gnar at this stage in the game, not even able to take down Babip right here. So definitely the Chiefs getting the better of Direwolves in that situation and picking up the Dragon to boot, their second of the game.
Raze was stuck in the battlefield there as Praetor was able to snipe him back with that Feather Recall. But as we go back to life, 15 minutes in, we turned our attention towards the top half of the map to pick up yet another objective. It's going to be Herald number 2. Not to be outdone by Direwolves though, as Zoranus has gone to split pushing duties, and we'll find the Direwolves their very first turret of the game. Certainly working his way towards that first mythic item spike as well.
And realistically, if you are the Direwolves, this is the way you need to be attacking this game. Right now, I don't see them winning a 5v5 based on how fed Babip and the rest of the top side of the Chiefs are. You need to say, okay, we'll send our Gnar into the side lane, we'll send our Ahri as well, and potentially try to draw members out towards them. They're so mobile, they can threaten these turrets and create space for the rest of the Direwolves to play. Because if the Direwolves keep opting into these 5v5s, the lead that the Chiefs have is only going to grow.
We just keep asking, you know, let's have a skill check, let's have an item check, and, you know, Chiefs no doubt going to be quite accepting of that fact. I will say, though, that Direwolves have managed to equal power in at least the top half of the map. Double sheen to be seen between jungle and top laner, so the potential for those mid-game fights to really work in their favor could certainly be there. And it is for the second time in a row now, the more defensively orientated or support style, I say, of the Ahri, with the Everfrost coming out in a solo AP game. Would be interesting to hear his thoughts on that.
It's more pick-oriented than anything, I think, just having that extra window that enables you to land that charm and potentially find a kill. Obviously, he is solo AP, so there's always the argument of wouldn't the Ludens be better, potentially for that more straight-up one-shot. But I think in a game like this, you're not really one-shotting anyone anyway, so being able to more guarantee that CC, a bit longer lockdown to buy space for someone like your Xayah, like your Gnar, to hit these members. That being said, Chiefs have someone up the Herald. They're 4 men strong in mid lane.
But they are, and Kisse is busy pushing top lane right now. Chaz is in the area, threatening on vision, and Kisse would have TP if a fight were to break out as a result. Tier 1 will not fall over just yet, but it will survive for the meantime, albeit very low, as is this top lane too, so Chiefs still going to really cash in on 2 easy turrets to pick up.
Yeah, definitely going to clean the board here of these outer turrets. Bot lane going to be the only one remaining. You'd have to imagine after this mid push. And as we look at that 4v4 again, it realistically is just so hard to even hook someone. If you're looking at those 4 people, who do you hook? Sure, Raze is the AD carry, but he's got the rocket jump he can buffer. He's got that ultimate as well to knock back anyone that gets on top of him. So it's really hard unless they're isolated in situations like a side lane for them to get stuff going.
Which is exactly what Zoranus is doing then, sticking to the side lanes, giving vision, giving safe passage to the rest of this team to try and make a play to back him up if Chiefs were to mount an assault in retaliation towards. You can see them hovering in the dragon nearby, in the area at least. And ready and waiting to see what the next move is from the Chiefs. Still another minute until that next dragon were to spawn, so nothing to really worry about anytime soon, but we're going to try and stem the bleeding about just how strong the top half of Chiefs is.
And to me, here's the question, it's the same one that Direwolves had to answer last game, is what point are we drawing the line? Because it felt like last game, the Mountain Soul really was the thing that pushed them over the edge. They said, we have to fight, and it led to them getting desperate and led to them making the play that ultimately cost them the game. Here we're in a very similar situation, right? 2 dragons for the side of the Chiefs. Third one spawning in 40 seconds. If you let that go over, that's a potential 23 minutes Soul very early on in the game. And for a composition that already has damage issues with this Ahri, with this Vi, as we head towards the later game, you can't be affording to give that over.
Certainly cannot. Alador going to flash on in, and a flash to respond to deny to pulverize. The 3-man collapse will not catch out Zoranus today. Someone is burnt in the process, but obviously Alistair will still have the Hex Flash available to them. Meanwhile, the rest of his team were sitting pretty in the mid lane, gaining control, so they had the first move towards Drake.
Yeah, they're potentially caught out here, Skimmy. No flash Aladoric, remember.
It certainly is the case. Kisei full HP, goes for the self-cast ultimate, then Aladoric jumps in, but the feathery call is nasty. Locking in place multiple members. Zoranus is going to be denied for the meantime. Gets exhausted. That Gnar is not going to get the shove it's after. Then gets taken out there by Biopanther, going all out as Raze hits level 11. And burst into life to do big damage right now. Nearly prayed of sniping more on the back end as they retreat.
TP!
But look at that TP. Decoys Hector minion. That's not what you want. And then Biopanther tries to be cute and clever, but gets shredded in that very squishy ultimate form. But at 19 minutes, Chiefs will get the ace and the dragon as their second prize.
Deja vu, a fight just around 20 minutes goes overwhelmingly in the favor of the Chiefs. It starts out with them being a little bit split. As we can see here again, Kisei and Aladoric having previously attempted to find Zoranus here, that you think they're caught out, but look at Aladoric here. Yes, he takes the Vi combo, but it's Kisei who buys so much space. Multi-man route, then drops the ultimate to buy time, and Chaz is getting knocked up, CC'd, only able to use the ultimate when he's on a sliver of health. Once he goes down and Praetor is getting zoned like this, look how much work Babip's doing on the back end. It's just a matter of routing them, and a really heads-up TP from Kisei to round this all out.
Been a quiet MVP for me in this game. Babip on a champion that he's so notoriously well known on. You see then Kisei coming in and looking just to continue to break ankles and cause havoc in this game and showcase his class on a champion like Lissandra. And by this point here, you were just finding reset after reset, rocket jump, frozen clones, and really putting Direwolves on the back foot.
They are absolutely on the back foot now as we look at the gold. 3,000 down. It's not unbeatable by any means. But it's the Dragons that's the worry for me. It's the same spot over and over again. We look at the mid-juggle of Chiefs here, 5-0-5, 3-0-5. Both of these champions not only dishing out so much damage, but so hard to kill.
And here we were thinking that, you know, when Kisei plays with Babip, he becomes even more of a carry. Right now, it's Babip saying, actually, yeah, you're supporting me. You're giving me the highway to jump in as the Wukong. Chaz is being called out. Kisei locks him in his grasp. You can't spirit rush away from me. You've got range. But where do you go now? You need some of that vamp, you need some of that leech, you need some of that distance to be covered.
He's dead.
And he's gone. He's run out of space to execute. And that is kill number 4 for Kisei.
Yeah, you never want to be face-checking a bush into a Lissandra. Chaz getting caught off a little bit off guard there, and it ends up going down to this Lissandra, who now has the Shadow Flame complete. So Luden's Shadow Flame Sork Boots, basically doing true damage to the Ahri, who has very little magic resist at this stage in the game. Very potent early game combo, and now Skimmy, Baron is alive on the board. Any misstep from the Chiefs, from the Direwolves rather, could have catastrophic ramifications.
Certainly could. That would give them the ease of access to continue to siege and set themselves up in these lanes. We talked already about the potential for Raze to potentially play towards the side lane, or at least be there waiting to pounce upon a target in a 1v1. In a position like this, I mean, what do you do right now if you're Direwolves? You're knowing that Chiefs are scaling, you know that they've got all the cards, all the tricks, all the potential to get even stronger. At what point do you say, all right, guys, we've just got to hit a certain breakpoint with an item, we've got to get 2 items, we've got to get a certain summoner online, or just almost pray that Chiefs throw?
Yeah, the thing is here is you have to go bounty hunting, but it might be them who's getting hunted.
It certainly may be as Bipemper starts things off, and Aladoric's going to get a 2-man stun. Babbitt actually gets taken down for the first time in this game. That's a massive shot, then it goes the way of Praetor. He gets 2. That's the double. I asked the question, and I get the result.
What? Babbitt just randomly goes down here, follows with Aladoric's death. The Chiefs, yes, they're very strong. Kisei has ultimate. You have to look at him to cause a lot of ruckus.
Oh no,
but
decoy.
The Baron's burning.
He's hit terrain. That is the worst case. That's not what you want to see happen, but he at least has baited the attention of Chiefs to not make a play towards that Baron. That's 1 Baron buff removed. That's Praetor going Featherstorm. That's Kisei flashing after, but Praetor to deny. Looking for Zoranus now. Blastco may be the difference as he runs as fast as he can.
Wait.
But then Kisei's been baited. He goes golden. He needs Raze to back him up, and he's gone. They've removed 2 Baron buffs, but they've lost 1 in the process.
The Chiefs getting a bit too overconfident there. They really felt like they could do nothing wrong, but as we take a look at this play again, they think that any fight they take is fine. But look at the initial position. Praetor able to free hit. Yes, the Chiefs are ahead, but Praetor is actually ahead in items if you look at the 80 carry gap, and he's able to provide so much DPS, the charm coming through to take out Aladoric. And that's a free Baron. Skimmy, this game has turned on its head.
It really has, and I think beautifully done there by Shaka, actually completely locking down Babbitt as he jumps in to make the play, denying the Wukong impact no matter how fed he was. The Baron's going to go down, and Deco will pay the price, but I think, honestly, Direwolves play really well on the disengage.
Yeah, they do here. As we can see, Praetor so scared of what Kisei can provide. The Frozen Thrall already doing a significant amount of damage. And it's Zoranus who buys the space here. This jump here in this blast cone forces Kisei to go over, and yes, it's a trade 1-for-1. Yes, Zoranus does go down at the end of it, but getting that bounty back onto Praetor for Kisei is huge. And look at his items now, 3 completed, Skimmy.
Which is crazy, because we now really look to see, okay, it's a much more even game. It really is all up for grabs. Kisei died before, and he'll die again. And that's coming at a really bad time. 3 dragons picked up by Chiefs. Soul point in 20 seconds. And I mean, Direwolves are getting given opportunities.
Yeah, that is horrible timing for Kisei there. Goes down, not able to use the ultimate. That's the thing with this Direwolves team comp, is they have so much single target CC that if you get hit by one thing, chances are you're getting hit with all of them until you go to a grey screen. And Skimmy, it could have been the Chiefs getting a soul at 24 minutes, but instead it's going to be the Direwolves Baron in hand that are taking this dragon off and equalizing this game.
What a play, and what a denial, and 5 crucial minutes. I think it's 5 crucial seconds there for a second. 5 crucial minutes purchased now for Direwolves to really find themselves more avenues back into this one. And I mean, quickly checking in with the overall amount of kills that have happened. 16 picked up by Chiefs. 15 are in the top half of their draft. Their Bruiser mid lane squad are so exceptionally strong. But now Praetor is like, did you forget what the meta's about? It is ADC time.
And here's the thing, why the fights have been going so well for Direwolves is that they've been allowed to have these front-to-back situations, right? We talked about Chiefs comp, we said, this game's never going to be a front-to-back, but these previous 2 fights, it's been Babbitt going in, it's been Aladoric really sitting and no one threatening those flanks. That means that Praetor is completely free to hit, and as we can already see, LDR, Quick Blaze, Kraken, completed. This Xayah is no slouch.
Yeah, 1 full item over that of Tristana right now. And yes, as the game continues to go on, Raze will get more and more range to try and make it a little bit easier to try and find those picks from a safe distance. But as it stands, 25 minutes in, Direwolves have clawed back what was a 3K deficit and have brought it back to an even game.
Hooks on.
Maybe looking to try and take the lead for the first time in this game now as they've completely annihilated Biopanther. A very tanky Cassante just picked in the side lane.
And this is uncharacteristic, Skimmy. You know, Biopanther and Kisei, 2 solo laners who are really at the top of our league as we're getting a nice scenic view of Summoner's Rift. But they don't make these mistakes, Skimmy. They're not the ones to get caught in lanes, and plain and simple, that's just what's happening now. They are slipping up, and this is giving Direwolves the room to get more as Raze
Oh my gosh, they just found Chaz. He's being picked on vision. You just couldn't call this game right now. A shutdown goes away. Predator's been left on his own. We're going in for more right now. Cyclone, Pulverize, lock them up and take them down. Zoranus with a two-man shove against the wall. He's taken out Raze. He burned double summoners, but it wasn't enough. And now the Frozen Clones come on through and they absolutely crush in such a compact amount of space. That is our second ace of the game.
Right as I get to speaking about random people dying, we see Chaz getting picked off on the bottom of your screen. Everyone rushes, says, hey, we've got to protect him. And that ends up being Direwolf's downfall. We talked about the fights that Predator needs to take on this Xayah when he's getting attacked from those multiple angles. Headbutt, Pulverize combos coming through from this angle. I've got a Tristana here who I need to exhaust and worry about. It becomes so hard for him to play the game. And the Direwolves, as we head into another pause, having to really reconsider that last 30 seconds of gameplay.
But they certainly do. And I think for really what we've seen in this entire series is that has been just so bloodthirsty. Talk about analysis, not going to be a case. No. It's just action after action, 1 minute at the max, and we're going at it again. And I think really you hit the nail on the head at the very start of this this match. It's just going to be a skill checkup. Mechanics max, looking to see who can outperform, who can outplay, and just playing around vision.
Yep, and it is those multiple CC layering that needs to come through from the side of Direwolves, right? We look at the times it's looked good for their last couple kills. It's been a charm landing, a Nautilus hook landing into Vi dumping her full combo. Meanwhile, the whole time, Predator is able to free hit. That's really been their recipe for success. So as we head towards this Baron in 1 minute, be looking out for that lone member, checking for a control ward, sweeping a bush, who's able to be picked off and turn the game into a 4 versus 5.
Not been the easiest game for these AD carries. No many amount of threats that are going their way. It all starts with the initial pick on Biopen from the top lane, but then Chaz just gets caught in the flank, looking to try and find more. Aladoric assassinates him.
Yeah, interestingly, just walks into the range of Aladoric, gets headbutt pulverized into Lissandra ulted, and taken down crucially. Doesn't matter about the RE mobility. Top side though, it's Predator in a 1v2 versus Raze and Babip. Yes, you have an exhaust, but that can only hit onto one person. Zoranus trades on the back end of it, but meanwhile you're stuck in a fight, extended fight with a Wukong. And Wukong, once you have that big damage threat of Predators down, there's no one alive to threaten him in these extended situations.
This is an interesting purchase. I wondered if it actually would go this way. Hullbreaker's being picked up as the third item here for Zoranus on the Gnar. Looking to say that, yes, whilst we are strong in our team fights, I think we need to look to try and play towards these lanes a little bit more because we're getting a little bit too lost in the fact that we need to fight, and nothing else is really the plan.
Ironically, as we say that, he's headed towards the rest of his team here. Look at the flank position from Kisei whilst the Baron started skimming.
TP comes out and Decoy pulls the trigger. He starts things off. As you say, Kisei completely unspotted. Patiently waiting. You'd have to imagine for Predator to make his move from the mid lane into the river.
Yeah, he's not on any vision whatsoever. The Chief's doing such a good job of baiting this. Meanwhile, Direwolves do have mid-pro skimmy. Predator sort of disregarding this Baron. He's going to have to come over eventually.
What a charm there from Chaz. The ever-fast to self-cast the ult. They need to buy him time. Bear in mind, Predators is not here. This is a 5v4 favoring the Chiefs. They found one. And they may just turn their attention back towards the Baron because Shaka is dead for 40 seconds. No smite available. Decoy is down at 20%. And Kisei might look to wrap around and do it all again.
Aladoric.
He is going to do it all again. They're going to flash into effect. Aladoric and Kisei linking up beautifully, ripping back the feathers. It's not enough. They can't get a kill. They can't do much more than just that. They had a crack, but Max, it is the Baron, and it is for Chief.
It is going to be the Baron. The flank eventually works out. The Direwolf's going to say, we're not going to fight this. We're going to head towards this dragon, deny the soul at least. But Skimmy, there's a TP coming through. Yes, they can get this, but can they get out?
And they get out. The blast cone to start it off, and Chaz has no mana. Dodges the charm. Claude to get back in.
Yes.
And they can get out is the answer eventually. But putting the pressure on them to be a little bit angsty for a second there as we run it back with this beautiful flank.
Yeah, the charm initially so good, but crucially, that Vi-Q misses. He had flash. The fact that CC doesn't land means Kisei can go into his ultimate, means he's able to buy a lot of space. And then after this, it's so hard to walk into the Chiefs comp, and like you rightly pointed out, Skimmy, look at Aladoric, does the exact same thing again, finding pressure on towards this Xayah. And this is really the nail in the coffin for the side of Chiefs.
And missed DC again, right? You talk about the Vi-Q, you talk about then the Nautilus Q as well. That is the difference on the repeat, the deja vu moment from the exact same wraparound angle. Small moments, small margins. really adding up to be their demise at that point there, and what was building towards a potential Direwolves retake of the gold lead, of the control of the game, has gone back to be Chiefs favored, now up by 4.
They are up by 4 as they look to put pressure on this tier 2 outer turret. You have to remember that at any time, Direwolves aren't particularly safe under this turret. There's so much invulnerability coming through, and pure tankiness, not to mention, from the side of Chiefs. They can tank these turrets forever. Really not an obstacle. So to me, it's a question of when do Direwolves choose to fight. They've got the Mega Gnar now.
They certainly do, and it's going to be Zoranus looking to try and lock in place Cassante, but that's not the champion you want. They just look to pile drive into Chaz. Chaz deleted mid-flight as he flashes his way. I mean, unbelievable. He's tried to do something here, and then Baba's just spinning inside their base almost like a taunt. It's the 4-1 split, which ultimately really rewards the Chiefs into potentially now finding double inhibitors.
Yeah, they do. That kill's going to be huge. The first inhibitor is going to crack. The second one, not far to follow. And the question is, what do they do after this? They have a big wave. 3 cannons into that top wave. 1 in the mid lane. They're trying to end.
4 cannons to look to end this game right now, and Raze at this stage of the game just has so much range, so much damage, and such a strong team. Another ace, and the longest you'll ever take Chiefs in a series like this. But 32 minutes in, Chiefs confirm the perfect 2-0.
Yes, they bleed. Yes, they are human, but they do not die. They stand tall in the face of a Direwolves resurgence to take the 2-0, cement themselves at 13 points, comfortably atop the LCO standings where they belong.
Back to winning ways. If you ever doubted them, they've reviewed, they've revised, they've switched out a jungler, and they've decided that, you know what, Direwolves, not today. You're not going to beat us today. You're not going to be inspired by our counterparts in Pentanet.gg. We will come in with a plan. We'll look to play your composition, just do it a little bit better in game number 2, and take the clean sweep.
Denied. You cannot pick Cassante 2 games in a row. Wukong, ours. We'll do it better. I don't know why I did that.
Straight up.
Sassy me.
I'm a savage.
Start twerking in a second. I swear, like, what? Where are we going?
I'm crossing your legs to do it. And I was
about to get
like, please don't skip me. We got things to talk about. Probably the toughest one that I'm going to ask you, Rusty, to at least try and explain to me is what is going on with Direwolves and team fights.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Sometimes they're, you know, okay. I'm not going to say great by any means, but they're successful. But more often than not, I'm going to say about 80% of the time, it feels directionless. It feels like engaging for the sake of engaging.
Yeah, so the big things for me, first of all, as I do agree with you, the big things other than that is Creative is playing really well, right? I think his team fighting has been exceptional. Even in this game, right, his Zarya was really good. He was dealing solid damage. It's the Direwolves as a whole, just... I said this to Nat backstage while we were watching this. Direwolves won a fight, and I was like, I guarantee you they just get randomly aced in 2 minutes. And would you believe it? They were randomly aced 2 minutes later. It just seems to be a running trend for them. I feel like they get caught up in the pace of the game.
Yep.
You know?
And in what way? Like, I need that explained to me more than just getting caught up in the pace of the game.
So,
like, I know you have this tempo and this momentum, but...
Chiefs play fast by default. And Direwolves, I think, start getting like a sniff of a win. Like, they start going even in these trades, and then they start entertaining the trades a little bit more. They actually push into the Chiefs side of the map. And then it's these little details, like the top fight, they just give an angle to Chaz for no reason. They just go into melee range. And it's like these mistakes just seem to keep happening at the point that Direwolves feel like they've got an opportunity. Like, they're throwing us all a bone as viewers. We're thinking, like, for the first 5 seconds that they win that fight, like, maybe it's possible. That's when they think that and go too far. It feels like every single time.
And I completely agree. It feels like right here they give a perfect example of how they need to play fights, which is that clean front to back. And like you said, after getting this Baron, they completely forget that, say, we're going to take a fight on a billion angles here. Surprise, surprise, they lose and we're back to square one. So Direwolves need to be implementing their game plan more consistently if they have a hope of not only getting, but closing out with leads.
I think it's more shocking to see it play out against, in this game, not necessarily against Chiefs, but the fact that almost 2 interviews in a row when we talk to Direwolves, they're so confident in how we play this mid to late game. They're so confident in how they're able to execute certain fights. And yeah, that's I am very impressed with the bringing it back there to be dead even around that 25, 26 minute mark. But again, we saw Prave just sort of get caught out. He's not really able to get in that positioning that he wants because they all forget about the angles. And when we look at those angles, Kisse comes to mind for me. He is the standout on Chiefs, on being able to be on the flank. The teleport down bot for that team fight, fantastic. He's able to know his limits, know when it is okay to chase, when it is okay to flank, and it's coming to success.
100% correct. Those flanks have been prolific from him. The fact that he top damages Lissandra as well by that much shows that you're doing damage at all times, because you never see a Lissandra top the damage like that.
Nah.
No, I was just laughing because like that graph just looked like standard deviation, and I just thought, you know, you being a math expert, you're going to give us a full thesis on what it all means. Talking about, you know, National Geographic before, let's talk about math now instead.
I would like to, but first, at least this is more important, is a replay that Rusty wants to break down for us, because I would like to know some of the inner workings of the Rusty mind, but also of this game too.
Good luck. So Zaya's mid, right? That's the first thing. Now, Direwolves, it's a shame we don't get to see the very beginning of this just a little bit earlier, because the point that I want to make here is this fight's very clearly a loss for Direwolves. That goes without saying. But putting Praedyth mid was not a bad decision, because they're pushing a turret, they're threatening, and they're forcing the tempo in the favor of Direwolves if that Baron gets disengaged, which it does. Nautilus throws a hook originally, they walk away. In this second engage, Ari threw an Everfrost and a Charm, and they could have just walked away. But at that point, it wasn't just the Charm, it was a Nautilus hook that followed through. Suddenly a fight happens. They knew full well that their AD carry was pushing down mid lane, and then they chose to put one too many resources into it, and that's all it takes, right? Like 100 units closer to the Chiefs, and that Hex Flash angle exists.
And to me, it's not dropping the ward for the exact same flank that just ruined you 5 seconds ago, right? Literally the exact same play, albeit a different champion. So to me, a bit of that adaptability. I agree with your call about mid lane. Get the inside track, threaten there, potentially move towards the dragon, but not the way it worked out for them.
Hopefully a key takeaway for them is maybe an up in the warding, but unfortunate loss for Direwolves. Does give us the pleasure, though, of talking to Chiefs. We've got Aladoric on the line. He's going to join us here. Aladoric, congratulations on getting this 2-0 today. Does it feel good, or is this just the standard, you know, you can always hit on Chiefs?
It feels good, of course, 2-0, but I don't think we played very well, to be honest, today.
Yeah, something that stands out for me in Game 2 that I did want to ask about was obviously that swing back in favor for Direwolves to make the gold difference net neutral again. That team fight was really rough for you guys. What happens in the aftermath of that? Okay, not necessarily in the team fight, but when you're talking about afterwards and you see them starting to gain momentum, how do you sort of talk within the team?
Oh, we just said, like, just talked about summoners, what they used, how to play next fight, and what the next objective is. Like, we don't really talk about what happened in the moment, or like what happened in the past. You just move on and you talk about what's next.
Okay.
I want to ask you as well, including yesterday, Ali, about the games, because you had the Thresh game, right, and then you guys clearly bounced back with the Leona straight afterwards. It feels like for the Chiefs right now, this is kind of your patch, in that you get to play all of your best champions. Are you feeling in like a very comfortable position for the bot lane of the Chiefs right now?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty comfortable right now. The meta for the majority of the year was like enchanters, so I kind of got used to that, I'm not gonna lie, but it's nice to be able to play like engages again.
You're a fan of playing that Yuumi, mate.
Yeah, I miss the Yuumi.
You might be the only person who misses the Yuumi. You've had some other teams starting to what feels like catch up a little bit now, so I'm curious on your perspective on this. We've seen a bit of Arkia, he's the first name that comes to my mind. Are there any other supports that are getting close to what you feel like your level is as a support in the league?
I think Yosan's pretty good. Yosan and Akia are like the two standouts for me. I think they're mechanically both like pretty good. Laning phase is good. It's just like fundamental knowledge, I guess, from both of them, which is like map movement and like knowing where to be in team fight. It's like team fighting as well, a lot of it.
I want to go back to what Rusty and you were just talking about when we talk about, you know, the meta change up for supports in this patch. Is there anything that you were pleading? You're like, please team, let's work around this. I want to make it work. This is one of my favorite champions. It's coming back into the meta now. Can we do it? Or are you pretty happy with whatever the team kind of puts out there and you'll just play your role?
I just play what's needed or like what's best in the draft, like almost every time. So there's nothing I'm like, oh, please, I want to play this. Like, I also always ask my team for like input, like what they think is the best pick. So just whatever's best for the draft, pretty much.
Do you do a lot of reps in solo queue on the champs that you're hoping to be pulling out in officials and, you know, scrims as well? Or is that just a whole different ball game? You're just like, I'm just picking whatever I want to do. It doesn't matter too much.
Absolutely not. I just play solo queue. I just play for fun.
Okay. I didn't know if there was something.
You said solo queue, I heard
know.
the smirk.
I didn't know if there was something in the back of your mind, Aladoric, where you're like, oh, maybe I might give it a go. Nah, look.
Nah, literally, yeah. I don't play support in solo queue. No way.
That's fully fair enough. I get it for sure. Did you feel that there was anything that let you guys down in Game 1? Because we talked about it, and we were very impressed with what happened in Game 1 in this series. But obviously, I feel like you're a little bit harder on yourselves over in Chiefs. So is there anything that stuck out? You're like, yeah, no, this wasn't good, and this definitely could have been better by us.
Probably just like team communication on objectives. I feel like we get kind of flustered sometimes. Like we go too fast a lot of the time. Like there was one dragon fight we played really well, but mainly from the second game, I would say, is like where a lot of mistakes were shown from like playing too fast or like wanting to pull the trigger too early, stuff like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Aladoric, thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, and congratulations again on tour.
Thanks, guys.
See ya. Oh, he's very earnest there. Yeah. I mean, they looked great in Game 1, but I always want to know what they nitpick, you know? I think Chiefs, in my mind, have grown into a team that, I don't know if they like to be harsh on themselves, but they just are.
I think
like,
they kind of always have been.
Yeah, like that's just them. So I'm like, okay, give me something that maybe we might have missed.
You know what I got from that interview that I thought was outstanding is he said, I miss enchanters. I never thought I would ever hear that from Aladoric.
That's cap.
Right? Yeah.
He's been brainwashed.
He's living the time of his life
with these
with these
I was waiting for the question, like, does it feel good to see that they're banning Rakan away despite you not having played at the split? And you'd be like, oh, yeah, it does feel kind of good. They remember who the king is of the region kind of thing. Like, I was waiting for that question to be teed up and ready to go.
No, I'm waiting for when the Rakan does come out, right? And we see the performance. That's what I'm waiting for, and that's when the question finally comes out. Because, you know, it's still all like that hearsay, or like, I've been traumatized by that Aladoric Rakan. I don't want to see it again, but you're going to see him perform again on it. Our standout performer, though, their MVP, I'm going to say Kisse. Mine, I hope it's Kisse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Aladoric. I'm okay for that 50-50.
Kisse for me.
Nah, it's Ron.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, got to be Kisse.
All right.
Has to be Kisse.
We see him on the page. We'll see if.
Ah.
What?
Explain.
Twitch chat, explain yourself.
13% damage.
54% kill participation. Apparently, Kisse was runner-up.
You know why he's the MVP? For the vibes, the good vibes,
It's
the wholesome
the
vibes.
intangibles. It's the intangibles.
This is why they're losing in predictions. Every week you ask me what the MVP should be, and I don't think I've got it right once.
I think our guests,
you're right,
I think our guests that have come onto the show have gotten more MVPs correct than us. They know. They're the ones in Twitch chat probably voting. That's why they're able to get it right. So it is going to be Biopanther with MVP. Everyone really deserved it, of course. Sometimes I feel like I say that a little bit too often, but when Chiefs 2-0 that way, it really does feel like it. But obviously, honorable mention on our behalf to Kisse and the way that he was playing the game out and all of his flanks that came out.
His assassin work. Certainly put work in for the team. Of course, Biopanther just soaked the damage, while Kisse dealt it.
Yep. Play of the day now is what we're up to. Do you guys remember Caster Brain? You know it. You already know it, don't you? I feel like you're already
We know it, yeah.
All right, can you say it? Can you announce it in unison? This is the ultimate Caster test.
See, I know we're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna say the exact words in the right.
Do you want me to count you down?
Yes.
Okay, you ready, Skim? All right. 3, 2, 1.
Dante quadra kill.
Oh,
that was so
close.
That was awesome. That was awesome. You guys are right, of course, on what the play of the day is. As we can, it's from the beginning, you know? You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, Dante's running
It's
it.
got a beginning, middle, and end to this play.
Yeah.
Phase
this is
2.
building up the tension. You're like, Dante, how's he going to do this? How's this Kaiser going to come back? I mean, his team, they're dying. They don't even know what to do while he's sitting there on 10 health trying to recall like a Chad just behind the tier 1 turret. And then we just got to fast forward. This is the middle part.
Here he comes. Run, Dante, run.
That's some good casting.
Thanks.
That was
My
really
guy's
good from front to cover.
sprinting it right now. From front to cover, play-by-play going absolutely the hardest. And then along comes Dante to get himself the quad. And from front to covering Ground Zero's chances of winning this game. Whatever goes crazy.
That's a real half-glass-full moment.
Is when Dante went Kamate, Kiora, and he started dancing everywhere all over the show. And he just hit the Haka on the opposition. They said, oh my god, the Warcry of the Māori tribe, we don't know what to do. We're so scared. New Zealand's too good at the game. Straya, mate. Get outplayed by Ping, 60 MS. Doesn't matter.
John Alomu knock on, mate.
John Alomu's forward pass.
Forward
yeah,
pass.
mate.
Forward
Cheers, the
pass.
boys. Cheers.
Need it to silly bit off.
And you've obviously got to hydrate after a bloody play of the day like that.
They slow-moed him. Those like drinking.
He did
Wow.
drip, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was the extra bonus. That little dribble was the penta that he missed.
Yeah.
It's the one that got away.
It's the one that got away.
Win some, you lose some.
Yep, you win some, you lose some. Obviously, Chiefs absolutely got a massive dub today. They won a lot. They won the 2 games in their best of 2. Garnered themselves some bonus points. Puts them at nice number 13. Some people might coin that unlucky. Some people might say very lucky.
It's very lucky.
Yeah, it's my lucky
That's my
number.
birthday.
Oh, really? Happy birthday.
You know, a lot of people put
Friday the 13th. I'm a cursed baby.
I'm not. You're getting me distracted, Skimmy. You're getting me distracted. God damn it.
Did you know?
Did you know? Chiefs are number 1 with 13 points. Bliss obviously only playing once this week, so they're a full series behind, sitting in second with 10 points, not far off at all. Dire Wolves, they really wanted this. If they had gotten that 2-0 for themselves, they would have been up there tied with Bliss and Chiefs, but it wasn't meant to be. They'll stay there in 3rd place
Look at
with 7
Vertex.
points.
Damn.
Mammoth and Vertex, they went from the bottom, only had 1 point, and they got a 2-0 today, and it put them now tied for 5th, so putting in position that they are looking likely to be going to playoffs. There's still a lot up in the air for them, but if they can maintain at least draws for the rest of this series, for this rest of this split, then they will be going to playoffs. Pentanet, of course, only getting draws for themselves. Ground 0, and then can get tied on 2 points for themselves, looking to potentially be the 2 teams that don't, unfortunately, make it to playoffs.
Do we have our power rankings? Starter split power rankings?
How about we ask production to do that, and I don't know if they're already ready, but I think they might be coming up on screen. Either that or the schedule, whatever production likes to push first. Oh, it's going to be us.
I'm just curious now, right?
Yeah.
With the Vertex 2-0 for our 5 to 8 or 6 to 8 standings
Yes.
where everyone has teams, because I distinctly remember putting them in 6th. So does Max.
Low-key mine's like perfect. Besides PGG Mammoth swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, Penson are really throwing a spanner in for all of us right now, aren't they?
Yep.
Mammoth.
A little bit.
So I have,
We knew there was a lot of potential for
I have Mammoth
Mammoth.
in 4th, so I've got that going for me at least.
Yeah, you got
But-
Chiefs Bliss. Your Penta's wrong, but your Mammoth is right. Dire Wolves is wrong. Ground 0 and Vertex wrong. So you
Look,
just got,
I believe in the long con.
yeah.
We're not going for the season standings, we're going for the end game, aren't we, right? This is how they finish once playoffs is all concluded. So
Max, we are literally almost entirely opposite, but in tiers of 2. It's Bliss Chiefs, you have Chiefs
Yeah, we
Bliss
actually are.
the whole way, except for Mammoth Vertex.
I can't believe we agreed on Vertex.
Right?
I said it before when I was doing the live power rankings. I don't remember. I don't know
Yeah.
if I was conscious when I made that prediction, but it's working.
Yeah.
who's that
That's why I
Rand
should have
at the
tipped them
bottom?
2-0, mate.
Oh, Tally's on it still.
Who's that Rand at
Who's
the
that
bottom?
Rand? I don't know who that
Big
person
bloody
is.
Jim.
We'll have to
Jimmy.
call him up, Miller Dally, mate.
I'm clipping that, posting it to him. And
Yeah.
he'll have a good little chuckle at that.
I made it on broadcast a 3rd time after all. So that's our power rankings compared to the ladder. Monday. Oh, it's in for a good day. Kangaroo up against Mammoth. Bliss against Pentanet. Obviously, Bliss want to chase another 2-0 for themselves. They want to keep on track with what Chiefs are putting out. But Pentanet, they're not happy with where they're sitting. They're not happy with draws, and they definitely would not be happy with getting 2-0'd. So that one is going to be a massive battle. Obviously, Kangaroo and Mammoth, I think that one is still where 2 teams can prove themselves. Mammoth obviously looking great, but not yet solidified as we can beat anyone in the LCO.
I think Kanga and Pentanet are similar, but for different reasons, in that we've
what?
seen glimpses of magic from Kanga. Like, Kanga is so close to getting that win, but they've just not been able to find it just yet. And same could be said for Pentanet. They are so close to getting a win as well, but all they find are draws. And I feel like it would be the most insane outcome, given the roster strength that they have, the amount of experience they have, if they were just to draw their way into playoffs. But you're thinking, hang on a minute, how's this happen, right? You need more time, and maybe time is creeping up in a little bit too quickly because it is such a condensed split.
You guys want any departing thoughts about today, about our Super Week? How much fun you guys have had?
Interviewing's fun.
Yeah? Pleasure doing business with you, bud. You're great. You're a fantastic interviewer.
Casting is fun.
So good.
Pleasure doing business with you, man.
Pleasure doing business with you.
You want to just steal our bits, huh?
It feels like we're against each other now, but
It does a little bit. You know, Max changed
Birthdays
time.
are fun.
Monday.
birthdays are fun. Birthdays are fun. Pleasure doing business
Pleasure
with
doing
you.
business
mate.
with
Pleasure
you.
doing business with you.
Yeah.
Not living in Sydney is fun.
Hey,
Hey,
that's what
pleasure
I'm
doing
saying.
business with you, bro.
Can't wait to go home to a better state tomorrow.
I had to think of what Max and I could shake hands on there. Look, is there anything league-wise that you would like to quickly wrap up about this?
I think just a lot of improvements from most teams this week,
Yep.
right? Like the biggest takeaway from me is this felt like a true, like honeymoon period was over. We had the development week, and now we're seeing teams get closer to what we're actually expecting from them. Also, I did well in bingo, so I'm happy.
I'm doing anything to
I
not
know
talk about
I know
bingo.
someone who
I'm
didn't
doing
do well in
anything to
bingo.
not
I wanna,
talk about
I
bingo.
wanna wrap this show up.
I don't wanna
someone
wrap
who
this
didn't
show
do
up.
well in bingo.
Okay, at the start of today, if you guys weren't here, or maybe you're hanging around because you were here at the start of the day, we
so
played
excited.
Champion Bingo.
Oh no.
So we put
what
up
a
20
shame.
champs, and we got to draft up our own bingo card. So the only person you have to blame is yourself if you come last. And wouldn't you have it, I came last.
It's a
The
countdown.
player has been played.
So this bit
The game master has been gamed.
was purely curated by me, and yet I still lost. Obviously, Rusty commented first. Amazing. I'm very impressed.
Congratulations,
You-
mate.
Happy birthday.
Can't
Yeah.
believe there
You
wasn't
got
a Blitzcrank play.
3 of them. You got 3 of them in that last game. A phenomenal showing for yourself. Skimmy coming in cleanly at second place. You got 3 massive draft advantage.
Look, mate,
Could have had a thresh too.
here's
Always
your
possible.
trophy. You get the espresso,
Remnants of Skimmy's Espresso Dare Ice Coffee.
Dare
Happy
trophy of the
birthday.
day. So, you know, shake that in the air. Give us a quick speech. How does it feel to be a champion?
I'm not going to give a speech, mate. I just want to make it clear that I'm saving the speeches for our loser of bingo.
Yeah,
Oh,
all right.
I
That's
can't give a
nice.
speech.
I'll
Okay,
quickly
but I will
run
take
through
the
this.
trophy.
Max
I will take
came
the trophy.
third. Well done, Max. And I did
Fair
come
enough.
last. Now, we said whoever came last would have to, unfortunately, have a punishment. One of them being that they aren't allowed to come on the show next week. So, unfortunately,
Made
you
that
won't
one
be
up.
seeing me at all. And the more important one is that they get to close the show. Not that it's any different to normal. I am going to close it. The only thing that's different is my lovely co-talent wrote it for me.
We all wrote a sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences that Nat has to read, and this is the first time that Nat has seen what all of us wrote.
So I
And-
only knew what I wrote. And obviously, so everyone only knew what they wrote themselves. We put it all together as a little bit of a
Good news, isn't it?
closing.
Isn't
Oh,
it good?
buckle up.
I don't want to read this.
Let's get a zoom up.
I want to start with a small PSA. I will now go by the name Poopy McPoopy Pants.
lost in the first sentence.
We have so much more to go.
As I pooped my pants on Champion Bingo. But what a day of watching our LCO E athletes perform at peak level for our first Super Week. It starts with success.
Oh,
And
God.
success is all about growing. Success is all about overcoming your demons. Success is about getting knocked down time after time and getting back up. No one embodies that more than Martin Larson.
Who?
Reckless.
Reckless. Oh, that's really good, Skimmy. That's really good.
Oh, I'm proud of that one.
A man walks into a library, approaches the librarian, and asks for books about paranoia. The librarian whispers, "They're right behind you." This joke is funny because it is unexpected. You would expect the librarian to give the man a book about paranoia, but instead the librarian whispers the punchline, which is a play on the stereotype that paranoid people are always thinking that people are following them. This unexpectedness makes the joke more humorous.
Thank you for
Ha-ha.
explaining it. I didn't get it.
Thanks for explaining that. Thanks for explaining that.
Anyway, Thug Nation, I gotta run.
Anyway, Fog Nation. Just balls out the library.
Anyway, Thug Nation, I gotta run. To close out the show, I'd like to leave you with a quote
Actually
from the
crying.
great Tim Carbon Wendell. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip.
Can't get through it. Can't get through this.
Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we're thirsty. Stay trapping.
Thanks, guys.
I have actual tears coming down my face.
Bye.
Bye. Can knock you back. can flash into this pit if he so does desire. Has gone in early. There is the void missile, there is the damage, there is the strike. Headbutt pole into the backline.
He's dead.
Down found. Shaco gone. Baron still engaged down at 2,500. Dante untouched with the rage blade ramping.
Dante!
DPS team getting it absolutely done as he flashed it in to find his second. He gets a third, he gets a quadra. A little bit of pressure onto Gooby, and we go for Emphis. He's on his own right now. Grand Zero has to make a move. Echo's already hit that killer instinct. DKP missiles are just not enough. The grey health, the thick skin of the time kits is enough to survive.
No.
Bulldog goes there one more time. What was he thinking? Grand Zero are running away.
He's got EQ, Skimmy, he's got EQ.
Oh, he tried. He tried so hard. Run, Forrest, run.
Almost being able to kill the Akali mid Shuriken flick, but as we're right back into the action out of the replay, Skimmy.
Well, it's 20 minutes on the dot, and Baron is just spawned, so we're looking to try and force the fight as a result. Sign goes in, meets his maker, finds a Wukong, gets knocked up there by the Magnet Storm, says that my AoE ultimate a little bit better than yours. Zonis says isolated out raised, and then Kisley says, how dare you touch my AD carry, picks himself up at mid lane, gaining control, so they hit the first move towards Drain.
Yeah, they're potentially put out here, Skimmy. No flash Aladoric, remember.
It certainly is the case. Kisley full HP, goes for the self-cast ultimate, then Aladoric jumps in, but the Feathery Core is nasty. Locking in place multiple members. Zonis is going to be denied for the meantime. Gets exhausted, that Gnar is not going to get the shove it's after. Then gets taken out there by Biopanther, going all creative sniping more on the back end as they retreat.
TP!
But look at that TP. Decoys Hector minion. That's not what you want. And then Biopanther tries to be cute and clever, but gets shredded